Mas espero a hora chegar.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Hot on the Presses.
Where we're hot.
And on the presses.
I'm Sophie.
And I'm Megan.
And what the fuck is going on with Kanye West?
Oh, wait, I haven't heard any of this. What is happening?
Kanye West is currently... Okay, so there's a couple things. First of all, he has dropped out of Rolling Loud for the second consecutive year.
Wow.
And if you'll recall Coachella from earlier this year, he dropped out of that and was replaced by Kid Cudi as a headliner, who he is currently in some kind of like freak ass feud with over like nothing as far as I can tell. Guess who's replaced him as Rolling Loud headliner this time?
Kid Cudi.
It's our man, the Cudster himself.
Cudster.
So he, Rolling Loud co-founders Tariq Sharif and Matt Zingler say, "We spent months working with him and his team on the performance. Unfortunately, Ye has decided that he will no longer be performing."
Oh,
so I think basically anybody could have foreseen this. I think there was really not much of a situation in which he successfully performed this festival.
yeah.
Um,
Kanye is just he seems like such a diva with stuff like this. Like, if it's not to his specifications. Like, he was probably trying to ask him if he could build another house on stage.
yeah, it's like build a house on that ass. It's like, to me, it almost feels like disingenuous on the part of the festival headliners, the festival runners, because like, you know what he's like, right? Like,
Yeah.
I know that it's probably a huge draw to get him to headline your festival, but at the same time, like, he pulls out of so much and he cops out on so much these past couple of years. Like, his output has been interesting and his performances have been
Interesting.
something. So I don't know, man. Like, it just feels like you're setting your ticket buyers up for disappointment.
Yeah, definitely. And when is Rolling Loud?
I think it's really soon. It
Mm.
is yeah, it's this weekend. It's Friday,
Oh.
July 22nd.
Oh dear.
So shout out Cudi for picking up what Kanye is putting down, I guess. But like,
Yeah.
man, what? Okay. I believe this marks the first time on this podcast that we are like discussing Kanye in any depth.
True, actually, yeah.
Yeah, because we didn't talk about Donda 2 very intentionally because there's fucking nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
He's certainly a guy. He sure
Yeah.
is the guy of all time. Uh,
Yeah, he's interesting. At least he's not stalking Kim Kardashian anymore.
that's true. The restraining order seems to have worked.
Poor Julia Fox, who had to basically become Kim 2.0 for like a month.
Oh my god.
Uh, he's
Uh,
he's such a character to watch, and he's an interesting figure in music because he's one of the people that I never want to have an opinion on. Like, I actively avoid listening to his music and, like, engaging with it because as a person who has, like, trouble with art versus artist and
mhm.
doesn't like to listen to people who I'm morally opposed to, I don't like him as a
Yeah,
person
the thing
at
about him
all.
is that he sucks.
Yeah, and so it's like, I don't really care how great his art is because he sucks, and he kind of always has sucked. Um, and he's always been erratic, and it feels like it's so predictable for him to be doing shit like this, even to this day, that I don't really feel like it's valid when people are like, just listen to the older stuff when he wasn't as weird. I'm like, he's
He
been the same guy.
he's been the same guy since about 2017, if I'm remembering these release years right. It's the one that he just called Yay,
Yeah.
2018. Um, I think that album is complete dick and balls, and I think anybody who I think people who like it are the people who are really bought into the mythology of Kanye.
Yeah.
Um, like everything about that album, like the problems people have with um the one that is just like the blue Jesus is King, like the Christian one.
Hmm.
Besides the Christian shit, like I don't that also is stupid as fuck, but I don't really care about it. Like all the problems people had with like the rushed and thrown together sound of that album, I had already had 2 years prior on this stupid fucking thing. It's 20
Yeah.
minutes long. He took the picture that's on the album cover the same day. The opening of the album is called "I Thought About Killing You," and he sounds like fucking XXXTentacion for 5 minutes. And on the last track, there's like a phone call from Nicki Minaj that takes up a huge part of it. That's literally explaining her like ghostwriting half the some song for it's so bad, and I just don't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I listened to that one on my I just remembered this. I listened to that one on my ex-boyfriend's recommendation while playing Minecraft with him. And
the word X is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence you just said.
yeah, and so it was like he was like, "You should give him a try," and I was like, "Whatever, I'll do this if it'll make you happy." So I listened to it, and this was like an immense sacrifice for me because I was like, "I hope you know that I'm resigning my my Kanye card to you," and he was like. He's like this is a really good album, like you'll really like it, and I was like, okay. I spoiler alert, I didn't really like it, and I first of all, I think that some of his choices on these songs are unique. I do like the song Ghost Town. I think that's a good track, but that's it.
Is that the one that has like that No, I'm thinking of All Mine, I
Ghost
think.
Town is the and nothing hurts anymore. That one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I like that track. But I also listened to what's it called? Kids See Ghosts for him.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
I did not like it at
I
all.
don't like it either.
I think that it sounds really bare bones and kind of annoying, and I also hate the track Reborn.
Is that the one where
Um,
he's like rah, ya, da, da, da,
no,
rah?
that's the one where he's like, I'm so reborn. I'm moving forward." And it sounds like he's got paste in his mouth. Like he's so like dead on the mic, and then everyone's like, "This song made me cry." I'm like, "Do you listen to anything else?"
I
Like,
do love from Kids See Ghosts Fourth Dimension. That is the one that samples the old Louis Prima song for the
oh
beat,
yes.
and it's really, really creepy. Um the it's like
Yeah, yeah,
oh
I
yeah,
do know that one.
it's a really, really creepy track. I actually really, really love that song, but it's the only thing on the album that sounds like it, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm
That
also
one's got some
looking
atmosphere.
I'm looking at the Wikipedia page for Kids See Ghosts, and it does seem that Kurt Cobain is credited as a co-writer on Cuddy Montage, which I'm sure is there's a sample in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But that's just very funny to see. Kanye, the songwriter credits on the songs are Kanye West, Scott Mescudi, Mike Dean, and Kurt Cobain.
That is really funny.
um, Yeah, the main thing I remember from Yay, like the main thing that I took away from Yay is everything on All Mine. With the fucking hook where it's like he rhymes that ass busting out the bottom with crazy that medulla oblongata, which is just it's so bad. It's so bad.
It's really goofy.
Um it's not a good album. And I say this as someone who likes Kanye. Um, I'm a huge Life of Pablo defender. Um, and I like all the other albums, obviously, like I could name them, but like I just like the rest of them. But
Yeah.
like there was definitely a turning point, and he has really started to like I don't know. I'm not gonna psychoanalyze this man
Yeah.
on this podcast because that's been done enough by enough people. Everything that you could possibly say about Kanye West has been said.
You could type
Um,
in Kanye West in Apple Podcasts and find like half an hour of someone just psychoanalyzing
I'm
him.
I'm sure there's an entire podcast that's just psychoanalyzing Kanye West. Like, I'm sure there's a
Yeah.
Kanye West podcast that's just like keeping up on what he's doing.
Definitely.
All right, so I actually have a second news item for you, and I have some unfortunate news for you about the news item.
Uh-oh.
It's also about Kanye West.
Oh.
This is from pitchfork.com, who seem to have broken the story first, aside from TMZ, because they break everything first.
Mm-hmm.
Kanye West sued for $7 million over, any guesses? By Los Angeles-based company Phantom Labs for breach of contract. What did he do?
Oh, he dipped out of something.
He didn't pay them.
No.
So alleging non-payment for work on his canceled Coachella performance.
Of course.
That insane Free Larry Hoover benefit concert he did with Drake.
What?
Yeah, it was announced like the week of it. There was like a whole diatribe on Donda about freeing Larry Hoover, who's like, he's like a Chicago gang member who's been imprisoned for like, his sentence is 200 years.
Whoa.
Yeah. And there were allegations that he was like continuing to run the criminal enterprise from within the prison. But also there has been like a lot of prison abuse and suspect conditions within the prison that he's in.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like a long like message from his son asking for his freedom because he's like 70 something years old now. On Donda, and I liked it on Donda, but so they did like a free Larry Hoover benefit concert, but there was issues with getting the money to the fund for it, and the merch that said free Larry Hoover was like insanely expensive, and Kanye was half dead, and Drake was the only one. It was like them squashing. It was a whole thing. Apparently, he didn't pay the production company. He didn't pay them for the Donda 2 listening event where he threw the microphone. Like,
yes.
Apparently he just has not been paying this company for any of the things that have been happening over the last however many years. So that's really interesting. Do you think that a company like Phantom Labs, which I know nothing about this company, would enter into this agreement expecting to have to do this in a few years?
Honestly, I think that they probably were just stoked to do something for Kanye.
Yeah.
Because, like, I think a lot of production companies in LA kind of idolize him and, like, his productions. So it's probably like, oh, this is going to be, like, a thing. We're going to be known for this. That's awesome. What an opportunity. And then next thing you know, you're blowing millions probably to build a fucking house inside of a stadium. And then you don't get paid.
And then set it on fire, and then build another one that looks exactly the same, and hide Marilyn Manson and DaBaby inside of it.
Probably kill some of your professional clout by doing some not so great work on the mics and stuff like that.
You hide Marilyn Manson and DaBaby inside of it, and then you also hide Playboy Carti and some guy who hangs out with Playboy Carti but doesn't actually do anything and is wearing a skeleton costume and just kind of walks around on the stage with him.
That was actually Phoebe Bridgers, so.
Phoebe Bridgers debuting her new hairstyle. Before we move on to our records for this week, I do just want to shout out google.com for when I Googled Phantom Labs Kanye, the second Google result is Labrador phantom pregnancy symptoms. And then the fourth Google result is how to identify pure Labrador puppy in Hindi, which I don't know what that could even begin to mean.
Yeah, that's a hole to go down later.
Yep.
All right, so in the interest
someone alert the FBI.
some FBI agent was searching a lot for his puppy. All right, let's see. In the interest of time, let's go on to our picks so that we can start discussing some music.
Oh boy. You want to go first, or shall I?
I think I wanna talk a little bit about Mr. Rosenstock.
Okay, so you want to announce?
I can, yeah. So Sophie's pick for me this week, which sadly we had to skip over the picks last week because it was just too big of an episode. But the picks for this week are, for me, Jeff Rosenstock with Worry.
I wish I didn't care. This was the last 5 years. Yell, come on, get out of here.
inside a hellhole.
You're so lucky nobody's home.
Waste our energy on fucking assholes.
This was definitely a lot of fun. I was listening to it and I was jamming. My little toesies were moving.
Yeah.
My favorite tracks were "We Beg to Explode,"
Yes,
"Staring Out the
banger.
Window at Your Old Apartment,"
I love
"Wave
that
Good
song.
Night to Me," which I actually remembered you had played on a radio broadcast like months ago.
I did do that.
So I think that that gives me some friend points.
It does. It does.
And I liked the medley at the end, except for the track "Rainbow," which is the big ska moment. And
Ah.
this is gonna be
This is
called back to later
foreshadowing.
in the episode. But that was the moment that I was like, oh, I see where he went or where he was, I guess, previously.
Yeah.
The crowd vocals didn't bother me too much, which normally is a gripe that I have with some punk. Um, and I like the instrumental work, but at some points I thought the production was a little too clean. I could kind of see the ska poking through. I like my punk kind of grimy and raw, so
Yeah.
at some points it was a little bit too fresh and like
Okay, I'm taking
peasant.
notes on this and knowing I need to get you some really grimy ska. So that's what we
Oh my
have
god,
now.
okay. This is gonna be your eternal crusade to make
This
me
is
like
my
ska.
eternal this is my eternal crusade. I know I was joking in the first episode about, or not the first episode, but like giving you a King Gizzard album every week. But I'm just gonna start flinging ska albums at you at Mach 5 until you admit to liking one.
I'm just gonna send you pictures of me crying every time. Yeah, so is this one that you have a lot of history with?
Yeah, this is a really important album to me, honestly, because I mentioned this when we talked about Soul Glow. When
Yes.
we talked about them, is that hardcore is a genre I have a really hard time with sometimes because I feel like it is very easy to phone in
Mhm.
and very easy to like rely on loudness without really including any sort of engaging element in it. And then standard pop punk is a genre I also have a lot of trouble with just because I feel like it leans on cliches and it can be very snotty and immature and like like all the problems people tend to have as they grow out of pop punk when they get older.
Yeah.
Um but then a lot of people like grow into hardcore and I feel like that never quite happened to me. So, mid college when I was like maybe 18 or 19, I was living in fucking O House. I
Best
was
place
that
on
was
campus, baby.
no, 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 no. It is that was like a fucking cardboard box. You're just living in way too close
O
proximity to
House is a
somebody.
depression hole. I think that everybody there is a
It
little bit sad.
it sucks because if you want to Google this building, it is Oglethorpe House at the this beautiful Savannah College of Art and Design. The building is really cute from the outside, and it's a converted motel. And if you're living in it, it's a space that was definitely meant for either one person or two people to share a bed for a night and then get back on the road. But
Yeah.
instead, they put two beds in it with no real bathroom, just like a toilet shower. The sink is outside of the bathroom. There's no closet. It's just like it's very very small. It
Mhm.
is very very cramped. They have to fit two desks in there in addition to the two beds, so there's no walking room. Um, it's very very it's depressing. Like it was hard to like get like shit done or like have like a lot of a personal life going on, because you can't really bring people over there.
Mhm.
And so I was really like mad and I was trying to enjoy a lot of the pop punk of my youth. And then I discovered Pup and I discovered Jeff and I never looked back because this
Yeah.
this to me, and I said this when we covered fucking the new Pup album as well. Um this style of punk doesn't scan as pop punk at all to me. Like I know in my brain that it is pop and it is punk, but it has the energy and the like the
Intensity of emotion.
yeah, and the ethos really, like the DIY ethos of a lot of hardcore punk.
Mhm.
And like they could share stages with hardcore punk bands and I wouldn't bat an eye, but they are so focused on hooks. and melody and like the sense of like almost togetherness and community that a lot of pop punk like brings itself together on. Not that
Mhm.
hardcore doesn't do that, it does, but it's just easier for me to get into something when there's a really, really strong hook to chant on.
You are a hook-based person.
I am a pop head at heart. It's almost a little ridiculous how much a really strong hook will make me like anything. Um, but yeah, I love the whole first side of this album is just bangers after bangers. Festival Song makes me go insane. Patch Rash makes me go crazy. Wave Goodnight to Me makes me go crazy. And then when you flip the record and it's just like an Abbey Road style medley for the last 10 minutes of the album, it's so good.
That part was really interesting to me, and I haven't, like, seen something done like that in a very long time. It's just cool the way that that happens, and,
Yeah.
it's very it didn't need a ton of breathing room because that's just the style of music, it doesn't need that because it's supposed to be driving and it's supposed to push forward. So I think that it did a good job with that. Other
When
than, of course, the ska portion, which kinda took me out of it, if I'm I'm not gonna lie,
Yep.
but, it was still nice, I enjoyed it.
When it does take a breather, like Pietro 60 years old, it's
Mhm.
very like it is an abbreviated breather. Like it's very much it's a breather and nothing else, and then it throws you right back into it.
Yeah, and the breathers are quite brief, they're very short.
Yeah. Not that anything on this album is longer than like three and a
4
half
minutes,
minutes, but
yeah.
you know. Um yeah, this is one of my favorite punk albums. People talk a lot about catharsis in hardcore,
Mhm.
and it's much easier for me at least to like get that feeling out if I'm screaming along to some hook like come on, get out of here. Like it's
Yeah.
that's the most cathartic something could possibly be.
For
I'm really
me
glad you like this.
yeah, I liked it, and I think that for me, the difference there is that when I listen to punk, I'm waiting for that, like I like it really wound up and for it to not let go, you know?
Mhm.
Like when I'm listening to something like Soul Glow that's hardcore, I like that it's just like thrashing me and I don't really have much room to sing along because it's just so hard edged and fast. Because I go to other genres to sing along, but for punk, I just like to be kind of in a tumble cycle, you know what I mean?
Which this will give you for sure.
Yeah. So I like the, intersection there. I think that
Yay.
sometimes we have intersections like these that work.
A firm handshake.
A firm handshake, and other times, like a later album.
We'll
We do
get to it.
not we will get to it.
There's so much foreshadowing we're doing
Yeah,
on this episode. Oh my
I know.
god.
'Cause I was building so up to the to me listening to that album. I saved it for almost last. Alright, let's
Was that out of anticipation or out of fear?
fear.
Okay. That was a very fast answer. I respect the
Yeah, yeah,
commitment.
yeah. Okay, now let's talk about the one that I gave you.
Yeah, so Megan gave me an album that is off reference on this podcast, yet I had never heard before. It was Masumi Hara with Four Times a Dream.
もうよしなげ目が真っ赤だよ
Hell yeah.
This is really interesting. I so I have given this album a lot of time
Yeah,
because my first and you said this was the case for you too. My first listen through of this was just like a head rush. Like what the
yeah.
fuck is going on here? Um can I say something that you might take potentially as insulting?
Yes?
This album is the absolute purest distillation I can think of the concept of Scrimlo Bimblo music.
What is Scrimblow Bimblow music?
It's Masumi Hara's Four Times a Dream. Uh, the the best example I can point to is The Deepest of Nights, which
Yes.
so like the symbol, the little like hand symbols on this album sound like the fucking in Toy Story 3, the little monkey with the
Yes.
symbols. That is what they sound like. And then there's like
Ooh.
an organ doing reggae chords behind it. There's an 80s drum machine happening. It's so fucky and off kilter and like really it's just the whole album is so kooky. And
That's what I love about it.
I absolutely 100% did not expect that from the way you've spoken about this album, from the cover of this album and the track titles, like The Deepest of Nights, To Live in the Sea, Your Dream,
Yeah.
My Golden Hour. And then it's like somebody like spinning one of those party noisemakers in my ear and farting and then telling me it's all going to be okay. Um,
Dude, the biggest example of the sort of just throwing shit at the wall has to be futon making.
yeah, I
Um,
loved that song.
Futon making goes stupid,
Yeah.
but did you notice the woodpecker in the left
I
channel?
did. Yes, I did. I was
Yes.
actually just this song feels like you're on a fucking mouse roller, like the mouse roller. Have you been on one of those like the mouse roller coasters at an amusement park? The ones
No.
that take like okay, I'll send you an image.
Mouse roller
It's
coaster.
called I guess I'm a bit of a roller coaster buff, but this is called Wild Mouse or Crazy Mouse, and they have them at like every like smaller, lower budget amusement park you'll ever go to. Like I'm
Okay.
thinking of Rye Playland is the one that I used to go to as a kid in Rye, New York.
Oh,
And
wow. Yeah, I have never
yeah,
seen anything like that.
so the primary draw of this is that it really scurries around the track. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't go very fast, but it really like careens around those turns and it feels like you're a little mouse like rushing around a house or something.
Okay.
Um and that is what I felt like on this. Like I felt the G-force of like twisting through turns, and there was like the woodpecker in my ear, and the way the guitar was like pitch bent and filtered and so high in the mix. Like
Yeah.
it is so bizarre.
And the
Um
bass on that track, it like swashbuckles. It's
yeah,
so like it
it's
just bends around.
it's so crunchy. The whole song is so crunchy. I also think his singing voice fits this kind of really, really demented pop song better than a more like formless experimental track that they have on the album.
Yeah, like the
Because
opener.
well, I like the opener.
Cool.
But like on Orion or the title track were the two where I was like,
Mm.
okay, his voice is a bit of a grating element here. Like it's not the melody isn't as strong a contributor to the feel of this track.
Mhm.
So the notes that he's singing can't make up for the chipmunk quality of the vocal, if that makes
Mm.
any sense.
Yeah, the vocals are definitely whenever I show this to people, which I do show this to people, this is like one of the albums that I evangelize for because I think that if it does click with you, it's like so I have never in my life been able to find an album that's quite like this.
Yeah,
Um,
I've never heard anything like this either.
yeah, it's insane. But I think that like on the title track, for me, I find that I kind of lose the vocals and I'm more focused on okay, I'll circle back to
Losing
that. But
losing the vocals on the title track is going to be pretty difficult for me.
well, I don't think it really matters. It's the title track, considering it's just like that's just like the peak of the dream. But
Yeah,
for me, this album is interesting because of what you were saying about how weird the mixing and the layering is.
yeah.
That like every time I listen to it, I can focus on another instrument the entire way through and have a completely different experience. And one that like one instrument that this album made me really appreciate in a much deeper way than I had before is the bass because
Mhm.
when it comes in,
It's
um,
funky and slappy.
it is so funky. Like on the title track, it feels like it is skirting around a beat. It's not actually holding a rhythm or doing anything.
You know what it
It's so
reminds me of?
jarring.
It's like that weird dance people do without really lifting up their feet, where they like scoot the back of their foot and then the front of their foot in time with the rhythm, like in and out. Or
Yeah,
it's like, or like
like
the dance.
moonwalking.
No, it's like in the same vein as the dance people do with like their hands on their knees and it's like switching knees.
Oh, the Charlie Chaplin or whatever.
Yeah, or whatever it is.
Yeah,
That's what
whatever
it
it
feels
is.
like. We'll put a GIF here or something.
He set the precedent with the Alex G ass gif last time.
We just have to put a GIF of someone dancing insanely in every single one
Yeah.
now. That's our brand.
But this album is oh, another weird note is that this album, for some reason, someone at the Numero group has to like this album as much as me because
At
they
the what?
did the Numero group, the label.
I am not familiar, but okay.
Really? Okay. Numero Group is they're like a very they're one of my favorite labels because they have a knack for pulling out really insanely obscure albums and giving them international releases.
Oh yeah,
And
they're a reissue label. I'm looking at them now.
so they did a reissue of Stratosphere by Duster recently, I think.
Hmm.
And this album, the way that I found it was I saw one singular Instagram ad for it, like a video ad that was just playing To Live in the Sea. And I was like, that looks cool. And so I saved it and then I listened to it and I was like, wow, this shit sucks. Um, and then I got that melody stuck in my head and I was like, well, now I have to get it out of my head. So I re-listened to it and I was like, maybe I do like this. And then it was a history from there. But they did a vinyl release of this record,
Hmm.
which I think I must be one of the only people on the planet who owns this vinyl. Um, but it's really cool too. It's not just like a normal vinyl, it's a clear beach ball rainbow splatter vinyl.
That is like 5 adjectives you just put onto this record.
Yeah, which I mean, that's the best way that you can vinyl this record, like, is just by throwing shit, you know?
Yeah.
But that was where I found that I had an English lyric sheet. So there was a funny thing that I pulled the wool over Sophie's eyes for a moment on this, where when I gave it to her, I was like, "Hey, you should,
Yeah.
when you listen to it, go look at the Genius page and read the little blurb because it's a concept album." And she goes, "Oh, okay." And she goes to look at it. She sends me a picture and she goes, "Oh, this person must really know this album and it's my account."
Full first and last on
Yeah.
genius.com, by the way. Just doxing yourself
Yeah,
via your love
you
for
know,
this record.
I transcribed the entire thing on Genius. I made Masumi Hara's entire presence on the website, and I did all of the annotations for it.
I'm sure he's thanking you so much.
Dude, I don't think he knows anything. I doubt he knows that people in the U.S. know this album
Who
exists.
who is he, like, doing anything currently, or did he just, like, drop this and then vanish into the ether?
He dropped this, did one more album, I think the year after, which is slightly worse, but a little bit more 80s. Like kind of more poppy. There's one track on it that I love called The Blue Night, which is like sound collage, which is so strange for him. But then he dropped another album, I think in 2012. Let me
Yeah,
verify.
2012. I'm looking at the Rate Your Music
Yeah,
page.
and that one's also not great, but he is supposedly an actor. I don't know
Huh.
anything about him. His presence online is just nil. But yeah, this he's an enigma, and this album is an enigma to me. But I love it.
It's a very strange thing.
Yeah. On the note of the concept, I feel like I should elaborate on that.
Yeah.
So this album is like it's a concept album that's you don't really need the lyrics to understand it. Basically what it is about dreams and the process of falling asleep and then waking up. So the first track is super floaty and has almost no instrumental. It's just synth. And like a very like spaced out drum machine. And that is like falling asleep. It's like you're floating around. It's To Live in the Sea. Then as the album develops, it adds instruments every track. Like Zenith of Couples is very different,
Mhm.
but it still is just synth and drum machine really. But it adds in a bass. And then as you go on, you add in like steel drum on Twist. You add in an
I
actual drum kit.
I really like this steel drum implementation, by the way.
This is awesome. That's a great track. But by the end of the album on Living with Sound, you're fully awake, which is the why at the very beginning of the song it samples someone walking around.
Mhm.
And then every single track that has been present on the album is present there. And it's all just like the drum kit gets to go fucking nuts on the outro. It's just I think it's a very cool way of synthesizing an album to like show the process of adding in elements and like make that it feels like it really builds. I love it for that.
Besides futon making, the track that I really connected with was Your Dream.
Mhm.
Um, that like needle synth riff on it is like it feels like somebody squeezing a stuffed animal too hard and like the eyes pop out, you know? Like
Yeah.
it just like moves in and out of the mix, and then there's like the bridge where they just take it and extend it out. It's like something really weird like falling to earth and like getting its legs. I kept thinking of this little fucking alien. Yeah, it's such a it this album is like I was referring I was really goofing on it before because it is very, very odd. And if you go
Mhm.
into it prepared for like something, I don't want to say deeper, but I was anticipating from the cover and the way you've talked about it, much more like elegant or spacey
Like, kinda
or
self-serious.
yeah, like more I don't even want to say serious because clearly this was made seriously, but like I don't fucking know. But people you
No, I
understand what
know
I
what you
mean.
mean, yeah. Elegant is a good way to put it. It's very
More put
direct in a lot
put
of ways.
like put together. Like I was something more buttoned up, you know?
Yeah, 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 yes.
Like I was expecting that. Um and getting like this zonko stomping wacko album like so it like threw me for a loop so hard, but like the more I sat with it and I spun it a few times, the more I sat with it, the more it did kind of like leach its way into my brain, and I
Mhm,
found myself appreciating it like on the level that I might appreciate a more buttoned up album.
mhm.
um with this, even with all like the springs going off in my ears, um if you think Kate Bush would sound better if she was soundtracking the Looney Tunes, you will be really into this.
This album, I think that I just respect it for how incredibly balls to the wall it is.
It is really audacious, for
Yeah,
sure.
and for somebody with 0 musical presence prior to this, to do something this insane, it really feels like something that only somebody uninhibited by, like, a label or by, like, prior expectation could make, and I
Rate
really love it for that.
Rate Your Music does say he has one album before this.
What's the
It is
one?
it is called Imagination Sushin from 1982.
Oh, Imagination Exchange, yeah, that's the one that I thought was after, but that's the prior one.
Yeah,
And that's the one that I think is worse.
there is also Yoronusachi after this one in 88.
Yeah, so he's had some stuff, but, I think that there Imagination Exchange got very little play as far as I know,
Mhm.
so he definitely was kinda still freewheeling,
This is
but,
very creatively uninhibited. You're for sure right about that, especially within the I hate to say the sound boundaries, but it does have like 80s synths and gated drums. Like to
mhm.
use those things and also be as like fucking crazy Joker moded as this is like is very impressive.
I'm glad that you got something out of it because I feel like every time I show this to somebody, I get a different reaction. It's
I
such a unique piece of music that it's like, you can't help but feel something
I
about it.
when I listen to this, I feel like have you played Super Mario Galaxy?
Yes.
I feel like I'm Spring Mario when I listen to this. Like I can't sit still and I'm just bouncing on my head onto my feet, onto my head, onto my feet as I walk down the street.
Yeah. That's a good description.
I could also compare it, I think I said this in your DMs. If I could compare it to one other record that I've heard, um, it would be Gary Wilson, his like comeback album Mary Had Brown Hair. And from what you're telling me about this guy, about Hara, uh Wilson and Hara definitely have the like uninhibited outsider artist influenced by pop music, but also just like really fucking off in their own direction
Yeah.
thing going on in the music. Um, and they also use like similar synth patches and
Yeah.
drums and the same chipmunky vocals. So that was definitely in my mind while I was listening to this. And Gary Wilson is like a fucking freak. Like the character he plays on all of his songs is like a stalker creep, like obsessed with these women thing happening.
Yeah. Sort of
And
Alex Cameron character.
Yeah, but worse.
Ooh.
Like he is like borderline of like a murder. Like he feels like a murderer on these,
Mm,
and he's committed to it on every single song to the point of you aren't sure how much of a character it is. Like to that
yeah.
level. Um, and I don't know, maybe that interpretation. Like I don't know how much of a character you are playing on this album, or if this is really like you are pushing this sound forward. I don't know. Like that kind of added to it too. Like it was just in my brain like that.
I probably would enjoy that. I should check that out.
It's odd. It's really weird.
Yeah, I like weird things. This is kind of what I you told me that you like pop that's like catchy but has one weird thing about it, and I was like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go fully in the weird direction and see what happens.
Yeah. I find it's hard for me to say this isn't a pop album, but it's also hard for me to say it is.
I just call it straight up experimental.
It
Like,
is it is experimental, but it has like it's taking elements from 80s pop.
yeah, it's very it's like a very irreverent rearranging of uh of 80s pop. It feels like it's taking those cliches and it's making something that's like very odd and strange. And there is
Bold
like
claim. It feels really reverent to me. Like it feels like it's treating 80s pop like experimental music. Like it is taking the concept, like it is taking the tropes of 80s pop music and treating them as if they were experimental.
I guess, but I think the fact that it adds in so many other genres to it, like it has reggae and it has
It
some
does.
really like swingy guitar that's very rock influenced.
And steel
Um,
drums and violin and
and
a cymbal
also
monkey
the
and
drummer on this album is kind of cracked. The solo at the end of Living with Sound is like one of my favorite musical moments out there. He's so he's like a metronome. He's just on it. But I think that the fact that this ties in so many things and it really only builds off of the base of 80s music,
yeah.
to me makes it feel like it is not respecting the boundaries of that genre at all.
Mhm.
So I see it as irreverent in that sense, but I also see what you're saying about it kind of treating that bass delicately. Like it does that 80s bass very well. Um, yeah, I think that I could write an essay about this album. I love it so much.
Yeah, no, it was great. I had an entertaining time with it.
I recommend this to people who want to have a wild ride and come out feeling something. Don't know what, but it will be something.
You will feel something.
Yes. And if you're like me, it might change your perspective. This actually like changed the way that I looked at like pop music. So I love this album. All right. Shall we move on to our albums?
Yeah, let's do it.
We're gonna kick it off with Soccer Mommy. Sometimes forever.
I think you should tackle this one first because you've been a difficult soccer mommy convert.
Yes. So Soccer Mommy is of the pantheon of like bedroom pop turned like indie alt kind of girls. I definitely prefer Snail Mail, and they seem to me, or they feel to me like they fill similar niches. So I've never really felt like I needed to go anywhere else like to Soccer Mommy. I've just been there for Miss Lindsay Jordan. But this one seemed a little bit more interesting because the singles that were there were unique and
Odd,
much stranger.
very
Yeah.
odd.
Yeah. So I was like, this is might be a transitional period into something a little bit more experimental that I could get behind. And it did turn out to be that, but I think that I don't want to start shitting on it too early, but I liked it for the record, but I think that it kind of is a transitional album and not a fully formed thesis
I do
of the
agree.
ideas. I think that there's like one really good idea on it that gets kind of run into the ground, and that by her next one she'll kind of see more of how to build off of it and branch out into it. But for right now, it kind of like it lost steam towards the halfway point for me.
For the for to get the shit sing out of the way first. Um
Yeah.
the producer on this album is Daniel Lopatin of One O Tricks Point Never.
Mhm.
And he recently
He's been getting some work done this
yeah,
last
he's been
year.
getting some crazy placements. He produced both of the last two Weekend albums and now onto this. And on the Weekend album on Dawn FM, it definitely felt like he was there really just to make the music sound really like cold and far away and really harness that like 80s synth sound. Um, but on this, they kind of let him run wild a bit. Uh, and so that led to the single Shotgun, which is definitely kind of the craziest Soccer Mommy song yet.
Shotgun?
Oh, I'm sorry. Not Shotgun. Unholy Affliction.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was like, "Shotgun?"
Yeah. It has this super creepy chorus and very fucked up synth and bass sounds, and the drums are so loud and industrial.
Yeah.
Like it really sounds like Daniel Lopatin had a big influence on it. And so the record kind of leads with that. Like it goes through Bones, which is pretty standard Soccer Mommy. It good. I like that song though. And then With You, which puts a little synth into it, and then Unholy Affliction, which is like dropping you right into the deep end of that sound.
Yeah.
And then it sticks with it for a few more songs like Darkness Forever, and kind of Following Eyes, but not so much. But the rest of the runtime is like weirdly, it feels bad for me to say weirdly diverse, but it feels like she's just kind of throwing pasta at the wall after a point. And
Yeah.
I like most of the pasta, but it does make the album to me feel like it fakes
Scattered?
yeah, it fakes you out with a concept and then ends up just sort of being like a playlist of her trying a bunch of different things rather than a super cohesive whole.
Yeah.
And like she does well at most of those things. But coming off of Color Theory, which I adore that record, it is, and it's so like sonically coherent, that one. Like it has a sound. Um, it's just a little weird for it to be this all over the place. I don't mind it, but it is strange.
Yeah, I think that on songs like Bones, it's very interesting and there's this really echoey kind of crunchy guitar
Yeah.
right at the front mixed with like there's some really interesting channel play on Bones. Like it'll kind of go in and out and I like that. And same thing with You. There is some cool like kind of beach house ass melody
Yeah.
over the top
The
in the synth.
the guitar presence is really like a drippy on With
Yeah,
You. I
yeah.
really like
And
that one. That's
there's
probably my favorite track.
There's the same kind of really, like, echoey guitar from Bones, yeah, but there's some interesting play where, like, the left channel is really smooth and the right one is much rougher with
Yeah.
the guitar. It's really interesting and, like, the synth washes and they bathe the chorus. It just adds a lot of needed depth, I think. And then, yeah, you go into Unholy Affliction and you're like, "Wow, we are really committing to this. This is wacky, like, what is
Yeah.
happening?" Um it's straight up weird. The wild patterning is really compelling, and I think that the kind of delirious delivery on her vocals, it makes it really
Mhm.
unique. Not really like, not even
That
just
was
out of the track list, but, like, on her entire discography.
that was kind of a sticking point with me on a couple tracks on this album, is that I think songs like New Demo, and maybe Following Eyes and Feel It All the Time could have benefited a bit from her varying her vocal
Definitely.
delivery. But she does really well with it on Unholy Affliction. Like she's really spooky on
Yeah.
this song.
It definitely helps to show that she can do that. I think that I
Yeah.
like Shotgun more in the track listing. I think it's more necessary as her like quote unquote normal song in the midst of some really experimental cuts. I like it
Yeah.
actually right after Unholy Affliction. I thought it might be jarring, but I think it's kind of refreshing.
Yeah, it's like you get sprayed with acid and then they
Yeah,
freeze you.
exactly. I agree definitely with New Demo. I think that it's nice enough, but it feels really familiar for some reason. And
It was just kind of
to
aimless for
somebody
me.
who has never listened to much Soccer Mommy, for me to already feel like I'm getting deja vu on one of her tracks is not optimal.
Mhm.
Um,
It could have been a cut Color Theory thing, I
yeah.
think.
And then after that, I feel like it was kind of dipping into a lot of samey territory. Like, Don't Ask Me only really picked up with that little guitar solo at the end. And
Yeah.
then it was just like, other than that, really normal. Same thing for Following Eyes. It has a bit more of like a psych edge, but the kick pattern is so boring. And that's kind of where that was my sticking point, was that not only vocally was she kind of treading a lot of the same ground, but also the kick pattern. I even texted you, I said, "Soccer mommy, find a new kick pattern challenge impossible." Like, it's just so like 1 2 1 2 1 2. There's nothing varying it at all, which is so crazy considering like the mixing on the drums at the beginning is so interesting. And on some areas like Unholy Affliction, like we talked about, the drums are so wild. And
So
I'm like, where
oppressive.
did that go? Did you just like you had such a small budget for drums and you blew it in the beginning and then just the rest of it is so dumb and like sounds like it could be packaged, you know?
I was super split on Following Eyes in particular because it has this mix of like the spooky instrumentation, and the lyrics are kind of like it's like a ghost story, like it's like a campfire ghost story, like really like old school spooky story ass shit. But then it just like breaks into this really sparkly chorus that like I like, but it makes the song feel kind of tonally back and forth, and I'm not sure how intentional. Like, it's weird because I'm not sure if she feels attracted to or afraid of the ghost. And like that angle almost doesn't, like that would be a cool angle to take for a song, but it almost doesn't feel like the angle isn't clear enough that it seems intentional. Like the effect isn't isn't as dramatic as I think it
Yeah.
could be. Um I feel like I am shitting a lot on this album that I liked. Um I said Bones I liked. I really liked like the harmonica that's kind of buried in the guitar mix
Mhm.
there. The outro goes from like it starts like a big ring, almost like U2-y like outro melody, but then it like kind of fucks it
Mhm.
up and it gets really dissonant and it's like windshield wiper like but I was into it. Like I
Yeah.
like that. I really like that. Like I like the way that it soars and then like kind of crashes. I put Nirvana E undercurrent on With You that I think then came back on Darkness Forever, which is kind of like my other favorite
Mhm.
track on here. She like whispers on, and then it has like this really simple but driving bass line. And the start of this song, I swear to God, sounds like Nine Inch Nails. And then over the course of it, it builds back to that like shoegaze grunge Nirvana
Yeah.
drone going on. It took me a couple of tries to understand what they were going for on that one, but I ended up liking that one a
Mhm.
lot.
And I think that that's kind of what she could benefit from is stuff that does take a little bit more time, because it feels like she gets those really good experimental cuts at the beginning, and then it's so
Mhm.
immediate towards the back half for most of it that it just doesn't compare. It feels so much more pale.
I see, even as someone who doesn't necessarily mind really immediate songwriting, um, it like it definitely feels less focused by the end just
Mhm.
because it's going in so many different directions with that immediacy. Like Feel It All the Time is a country song. And I think it's a pretty good country song, but like I don't know what it's doing here.
Yeah. And it was so interesting because I did cave because I was interested to see what people were talking about this, like, what they were saying. And I
Yeah.
looked at Rate Your Music. Never do that. But I looked at Rate Your Music, and, people were saying that they felt like it was really unified in the diversity. And I was like, "Did we listen to the same album?" I don't
Strange.
I don't get it, but,
I've been I've been using the word strange a lot on this on this podcast episode.
Curious.
Curiouser and curiouser.
That's basically all I have to say about that.
Yeah, overall, I was into this one. I don't think it's her best for me. Color Theory is like that shit just knocked it out of the park for me. Um, Circle the Drain is such a like a you send me into another galaxy moment that I just couldn't. I couldn't see anything on this really beating it.
Mhm.
But I liked this decently, and I think it'll be on loop for summer.
Alright. Our next album is going to be Jur. Jer? Jur?
I think it's Jerry because their name is Jeremy.
Ah, okay. Jeremy. Jer. I almost just said Jeremy as the name. Anyway, Next up is going to be Jer with Bothered slash Unbothered.
My entire mind, 'cause we can't agree on what's wrong and what is right. I'm falling like a vision that forces a simulation in the root of exploitation, carrying the condemnation.
I come to you on my hands and knees.
Fuck. No offense. Fuck this album.
I come to you on my hands and knees on the day of my daughter's wedding.
Oh, it's so much.
Tell me how you feel, Megan. Just let it all out. Just let it all out.
From the first 2 seconds of the album, I was making a face, not in the good way. I was just like, oh, I have to sit through this. The mixing on the song Bothered is so blistering and loud, and the horns are just so much, and I was really overwhelmed. I didn't mind Decolonize Your Mind until the fucking rap portion, and then I was like, I'm done.
I loved the rap bit.
I looked on the one thing that I thought was funny is that there's someone named Cal the Thought Slayer credited for some guitar on this record. So that's my favorite part about it.
I'm Googling Cal the Thought Slayer and I'm getting nothing. I have no idea who this is.
The more melodic vocals on the song Maybe, I feel like are not strong or steady enough to sustain slower moments on this.
Maybe was my least favorite because I think they were trying to go for like Midwest emo ska.
Yeah.
And it's so repetitive and the singing was very grating. So that I will give you that one. That song's really bad.
Thank you. I got into a lull of just being kind of bored, and the beginning of Nobody Can Dull My Sparkle actually was so like egregiously cringe to me that it made me shiver.
That one I also had to take a couple spins to that one, but it got there for me. It took me, I had to get used to the vocal effects was the thing.
This one, I like sent my friend a picture of me like staring forward at the picture of the album, and I looked so dead behind the eyes, and he was like, "You don't look happy." I was like, "No, I'm not."
This is your demon. It's so funny because like I like ska obviously, and I like this album, but I don't feel nearly as strong about it. Like I really liked it. I was super into it. I would even rank it like top 15 of the year. But for me, at least so far right now, but your visceral disgust with it is so like
Yeah.
I feel like I have to like leap impassionedly to this album's defense, but like I just thought it was good. Like I don't have a ton to like.
Ska is just such a kill switch for an album for me, where it's like I hear it and I'm immediately out.
What is the turnoff for you with ska? Because honestly, so here's the thing with me. When I was listening to this, the song Cold Truth. When I was listening to that one, with this like there's a little bit of synth on that one, and it was leaning pretty hard on the punk versus the ska. And the chorus where they're like I don't remember. Like, you can't face the cold truth. It just felt like a Jeff Rosenstock song to me. Like, I was listening to it and I was like, yeah, this is Jeff Rosenstock, except it's got like a bit of a reggae bounce at the beginning and maybe there's some brass here and there. But like it's like what is it? I need to know.
So ska, the reason why it pisses me off is because I hate the mixing on all of ska. It's so squeaky and shiny and in my face, and there's like not enough dynamics in it to make it interesting to me. Like everything that's in it is at the top of it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And I don't like the mixing on the horns. They're grating.
They are usually treated in like a specific way,
which really bothers me. It's just that specific treatment of brass. It feels so grating and so intrusive. Like I feel like I'm not allowed to have other thoughts when I'm listening to ska. It's just ska. It's all ska. I'm being consumed.
Okay, so here's a question for you.
Okay.
What if you saw ska live? Do you think your opinion would change? This is not a threat. I'm not going to drag you at gunpoint
No, you're
to
gonna
a real big fish
you're,
show.
you're gonna invite me out to dinner, and then like a mariachi band is gonna come out, but it's gonna be a ska band instead.
Great news. I'm hiring the big bad voodoo daddies to come to your house.
Oh God. They're gonna play outside my window and throw rocks at my window until I open it. I think that I would probably enjoy it in a live setting because of the vibe from the crowd and
Yeah.
because they seem like they're having a good time playing it. But
Ska
never in my life would I come back and listen to it after the show, you know?
Ska has that like DIY like passion that like the hardcore scene has, but it is very like different and good natured in flavor. Like I have been to some ska shows, not extend I don't have extensive ska experience, but I have been to some, and like the vibe is just like overwhelming positivity at all times. um so I'm curious if that might be something of a way to backdoor you into liking it. What would you say your single least favorite thing here was?
Probably a tie between the mixing on the horns and the vocals. I really did not like their vocals.
Okay. I definitely think the vocals are a weak point on a lot of their covers. But on the originals, I found them pretty endearing because just our context, Jerry is the same person as Ska2 Network on YouTube. And they started getting really big in like the modern ska scene by doing ska covers of like all kinds of like pop and rock songs. Um, and eventually they like I think did some work on the Steven Universe movie, like some of the music there, and then ended up doing stuff with like larger ska, like filling in for as an instrumentalist for larger ska bands. When I saw Pup, they brought them out. Now they're working with Jeff Rosenstock directly, and they have their own band called We Are the Union that's been really big. So like their rise to like the top of ska has been pretty meteoric. And yeah, I do agree to a point with the vocal criticism, but honestly, it didn't really hurt me too much. To gush for a second, I the only track that I found to be a skipper on here was Maybe. I really liked everything else. Um, Real quick rundown. Bothered, I thought was super charismatic and a rake at the beginning, and the lyrics were super
Mhm.
vicious. You got your card revoked. I said the main riff was game show ass. And then it has like the surf bridge, and then the chorus is really like cinematic and dark. And I liked the lyrics squaring their blackness with being non-binary and how people view that as a walking contradiction when it's
Mhm.
not. Um, like because the idea of like demap people as non-binary or like wanting to be feminine as a bad thing, and like black men especially like being challenged to be as masculine as
Mhm.
possible. um I actually really like the production on Clouds and Decolonize Your Mind. Also, I thought it was really funny on Clout Chasers when they said that you don't give a frick.
I didn't even hear that. That is funny.
They're saying fuck for the whole song, except there's one time when they say you don't give a frick. That's really funny.
That is funny.
I thought their flow on Decolonize Your Mind on the rap verse was surprisingly good. Like I just would not have expected them to have that as a skill in their back pocket. I thought it went over really well. Garden of Understanding, I liked. It goes through some nice phases. I didn't think it was strong as the last couple, but honestly, I have to admit, this is a personal weakness and failing of mine, that the album really won me over by sampling Princess Bubblegum, my first gay crush, at the start of the
Mm.
song. Like, I'll freely admit that is like, if you sample Princess Bubblegum, I'll probably like your song. Um, but yeah, she, it's from the Nettie episode where she's like, people get built different. We just got to respect that. And I went, what? And then it kicks into like full ska, and I was just instantly with it.
Oh my
Um,
God.
Nobody Can Dull My Sparkle also samples Craig of the Creek, so I'm in for that too. Um, Unbothered was fine. I liked how they went into the I'm losing my entire mind from the opener as the like the outro passage. And then You Can Get It If You Really Want, I pinged as the track that you'd probably hate the most because I thought it sounded the most like classic ska. Like it's very Toaster. I was listening to some Toasters to get in the ska mood before this. And it was just like, yeah, this song kind of sounds like Two Tone Army. Like it's just what happened.
By that point in the album, I was completely out. Like I was just
Just just unconscious
Just
within your own
comatose. I
body.
was sitting there, a
Just
vegetable on my couch, trying to think
just
about anything
ha-
else and being unable
having
to.
having an experience like floating above your body.
Yeah, not in a good
Um,
way.
all right, so with all of this discussion, I promise I'll let it go after next episode. I know what I'll give you for next time. Um,
Oh, okay.
um, but yeah, so this is a big fat 0 from Megan
Yep.
and a resounding thumbs up from me. I really like this one. If you have any interest in ska, or if you're into Jeff Rosenstock and you can handle some squeaky brass, I guess, then I think you will probably have a good time with this one. It's very hooky, it's very fun. Jer has a lot of personality both on the mic and as an instrumentalist. They played pretty much like most of the instruments on this album. And yeah, I think that's about all I have to say about it. But yeah, I like this one.
Go have fun in my stead.
Oh, I will.
All
I will, Buster Brown.
right, our next album is going to be Lupe Fiasco with Drill Music in Zion.
Now there are those that resoluted to wreck, got caught, fought, lost, electrocuted to death. Came a little late for the rescue, and the flesh DNA exonerates posthumously whatever's left. No resurrection, but reputation's correct. The revelation brings decorated regrets.
Boy, oh boy, does he have a lot to say on this album.
He certainly does. And I didn't like catch a lot of it at the beginning because I think that for me, I found this is after doing a lot of rap listening in the last year. I have found that I can't really do rap like this where it's so flow oriented and so wordplay oriented unless it's built on the foundation of a really solid beat, because without the beat I am not inspired in any way to listen to what's being said or to look into it. Cuz I'm like I'm not going to come back to this musically, so I don't think I would come back to it lyrically.
That's kind of where I'm at too.
Yeah, this is that was a big Achilles heel for this album for me.
I definitely am more of a rap enjoyer than you. I think that's fair to say. But like when this record is on, I think it's really on. Some of the most thoughtful and layered rap that I've heard all year. There's like double meanings on fucking everything he says. The title of this album, Drill Music in Zion, means three different things. There's like the image contrast of playing drill music in like the holy place. There's like comparing Zion to the hood as like a really tough place to live, and like drilling music, like playing it over and over again or like practicing it over and over again as an escape. And then there's um the idea of like drilling deeper into music to find Zion.
Mhm.
And that's all outlaid on the first song, where his sister is like taking the mic, but like that's the concept that this album is like built around, and that's the like level of lyrical like multifacetedness that we're dealing with here. It's way more like, I hate to say traditionally academic because like I hate that shit, but like it is much more like in intellectual in that way than a Billy Woods is, you know? Like you might
Yeah.
need more than a Google to puzzle out what he's saying here. But I am held back on loving this record the way I love Ethiops by Woods by some really just uncreative beat choices. I have no reservation in saying that some of the beat choices on this are just like,
So
you thought
inept.
this was, yeah, it's just very boring. Like, were you
Uh,
did this beat speak to you, or did you just pick this one because it was there?
They're very impotent. They say nothing and they do nothing.
There's some very awkward hooks as well, and there's a repeated vocal appearance from the only guest on this album, who's a singer called Naira,
Mhm.
and she brings zilch to the album despite being on like
Yeah.
half of it.
And
Um,
I am very I realized towards the back half when it does start to add some elements to the beats, how starved for any kind of variety I was.
yeah,
Like Miss Mural picks up the bass somewhat, like the bass quality is a little bit better, and the saxophone that comes in adds so much, but the saxophone is there like 10% of the time.
yeah.
And I'm like, I just need more. Please give me something. And then the kick
Uh,
pattern, once again, Kick patterns this episode are my downfall. It was so boring and so frontal that it killed momentum, which sucked because then Naomi continued some of that momentum
Mhm.
with the trumpet and the vocal effects.
Yeah.
But it's just like, ugh.
I really like Naomi actually. Like that the whole like silly second verse with all the Malcolm X wordplay, that was just like making me smile. Like it's just
Yeah.
very good. And yeah, you're right, the trumpet solo on that track is like really good. Did you get the Sopranos joke on that one?
No, I did not. What was it?
Does the listenership even know about your love for these elderly
Mm,
Italian men?
maybe not. I'm a big Sopranos head.
Huge Sopranos enjoyer over here.
Yeah,
I'm Italian, I've never seen it.
yeah, I watched all of The Sopranos over spring quarter of last year, and it was probably the only thing keeping me going through probably my hardest academic quarter. And I owe The Sopranos a lot. I'm a big Carmela Soprano enjoyer. She's my
uh
girl.
he says, all that beautiful musical moving you like an intercooled Subaru, with an Italian man saying, look at what I do for you. A nice chicken Vesuvio. Be in North Boston often. Round them Sicilians, I be walking like the ambiance and talking. My favorite part is when all of the affogatos is brought in. You can put Dolce Vita chicken risotto in my coffin. He is
That's pretty
like,
hard. I like
it's
that.
so good.
I did like some of the vocal deliveries.
Yeah, he's fun. He's having fun on this one.
Like, the title track, I like some of the vocal movement on it and the some of the, like, ending lines on the verses, like, "You're gonna pay for it, you bitch." It felt very heavy and intense and effective,
Yeah.
but I'm not, like, sold on the album overall because of that.
This is one of the ones that I thought the beat was like kind of nothing.
Yeah.
And then the first verse was like pretty, it was like dense but very like I felt elusive about that one. Like it was
Yeah.
just not much substance. I like the line about the nun with the modeling career though. I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
And then there's a second verse. I actually really liked the second verse on this song. It's this is like this album falls into some like conscious rap pitfalls, and I think like the occasionally boring beats are one of them. One of the pitfalls is that the songs can get very specific topically, but they're not backed up by anything else on the rest of the album, so they feel like unmoored, you know, like they're just kind of like, here's a political point, here's a political point, here's a political point, and it doesn't add up to a cohesive like statement of ideology, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt that way on the closer track when I liked the line, "Rappers die too much, that's it, that's the verse," and the
Yeah.
build off of
Cool.
it, and I thought that that was really effective, and it was a good, like, instrumental build too, but I didn't feel like there was a ton of precedent for that off the rest of the album, so I was a little, like, confused. I was like, I guess this is if you were gonna put kind of a semi-random statement like that, I guess the closer is the place to put it
Yeah.
because that gives it a little bit more precedent, but I felt like it was something that he could have discussed a little bit more and a little bit more in depth and in different contexts if he used it on the rest of the album.
I think he did a pretty good job with that topic, honestly, just because the rappers die too much. That's it. That's the verse. Like that's a good like sucker punch. Like jump
Yeah.
right to start the song. So I was pretty lukewarm on this album, except for three tracks that I thought were like incredible, like galaxy brained, and this was one of them. I think like he does a pretty good job like elaborating on and like doing this idea, like pushing this idea of like the game, the culture is too dangerous.
Mhm.
Um, because I was listening to this song and I was thinking about do you know the rapper Russ?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he did something like this a couple years ago. I don't even fucking remember. And he got clowned so hard for it because the way he did it was so like insubstantial and whiny and like I'm better than you because I don't like participate in these things. But the amount of like heartbreak and emotion behind like the things that Lupe is saying on this song is like, I don't know, it was really palpable.
Yeah.
Especially with him singing on the hook, because there was something really charming about his singing for me. Like, he's not a technically gifted singer. Like, he's not a great singer or anything, but like you can really tell that he's putting his heart into what he's singing here. And I don't know, it just really landed for me. I have some lyrical snippets here. Um, right after the like opener gut punch, he gives it a minute and then he does a hook and then he says, "Silent reflection was the first verse's mission. I ain't want to water it down with a whole bunch of conditions. Just give it to you raw, how I'm really feeling. Rappers get shot too much, probably has a lot more precision, but that was the decision, and with that, I'm a stick. Look at what we say in this bitch just to get rich. Shoot him right in the head, don't even flinch." And then later, facts. I wish that they was lying in they raps. How does that transpire? To be so damned by God, you want your friends to be goddamn liars. All we talk about are our goddamned priors. Shiny metal boxes on top of goddamn tires. I'm goddamn tired. If I say I didn't indulge, my pants would be on goddamn fire. And the end of the song, he says, "What's the difference between a posthumous album and a life insurance policy?" Spotify, which I don't know. Like this I can definitely see where you're coming from because I feel like, yeah, this is an example of a song that has a very specific topic that doesn't connect to an ideology on the rest of the album and maybe could have been better served if there was a few more moments about this topic, but also ow. You
Yeah,
know?
I definitely think that this one, it is acted upon in a more elegant and I think well sold way than a
Mhm.
lot of the other really specific things on the album.
Yeah.
I think
Like
that this one feels like it has personal context, which is why it
for
works.
sure. Yeah, to compare it to the song to the title track that we were talking about, the second verse on that song is about it's a great verse and he's talking about like black men being executed and then posthumously exonerated by DNA evidence. Like this, it happens a fucking lot. Will be convicted on racist, like by racist juries in racist courts, by like arrested by racist cops for crimes they didn't commit, and they have to die for it. And then
Yeah.
after they die, they discover the evidence. They're like, oops. But like he wrings a lot of passion and meaning out of that for that verse, but it's one verse. And the first verse of the song is about something completely different. Like it just
Yeah.
doesn't, it's not backed up by anything. It feels very isolated.
Mhm.
I also really liked Kiosk.
I didn't write anything down about that one.
That was probably my second favorite track lyrically. It spends its time examining like the psyche of people who buy fake chains at the mall,
Oh,
which is like you wouldn't expect him to be able to pull deep meaning out of that, but he really does because he puts himself in the character of like the shitty little kiosk salesman. The whole second verse is cracked, like on the rhyme scheme and what he's saying, and it's totally drumless. Like I thought it totally worked. He says, "You ain't got to be a criminal involved, know how to rap or knack for dribbling the ball, or be a prince or an emperor at all. Everybody's equal in the middle of the mall. Like if everybody has these chains that they bought at the mall,
yeah.
then what do like rich people's chains even mean anymore? Like this is it. It becomes like it's just meaningless. Like it becomes a status symbol, but everybody has the status symbol, so it's not a status symbol anymore.
Yeah. It reminds me of a little bit of Excess by Rena with the, bought a zip
Yeah,
code
a
at the
little bit.
mall.
It's it's much more like it's very like specific to the black experience, but
Yeah.
it is yeah, I definitely do see that comparison, yeah.
Yeah, that's basically the conclusion of my thoughts on it.
Um
Um,
I have two more tracks I would like to mention.
mhm.
Uh Autobotto. Did
I
you have
remember
any
thinking that one
opinions on?
was bizarre.
I have no idea what this is.
Yeah,
He's like I'm going to read the hook. I'm going to do it
do it.
because this I was listening to this and then I was like on the YouTube. I was watching the music video and I was reading the comments and people are like, finally he's back. Lupe Fiasco is the savior of rap. I can't believe it. He's the greatest. I defend myself in court. This is sport. I get signals from the source. I can twist and I contort. I just feel like I'm a Porsche.
Yeah, when I saw
Like
it, I was like,
he's
what the hell does
transforming
that
into
mean?"
a Porsche like he's a fucking Autobot. I'm Guerrera, era. And then before he goes into the verse, he does like the Roddy Rich eater. It's so
Yeah.
so stupid. I This is an insane choice for the single, and it's just not a good song. I was baffled by that one. The idea of Lupe Fiasco, just like his flex is like, yeah, I'm a fucking transformer. What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah. Lupe Fiasco is the next Bumblebee.
And then the last track I want to shout out was my favorite track, which is Ms. Mural.
Yeah, I like that one.
I don't have a ton of past like Lupe experience, but I know this is a trilogy, like it's the conclusion of like a series of songs called like I think it's Mural, Mural Jr., and now Ms. Mural. Like Pac-Man Jr. and Miss Pac-Man. Um, but yeah, this track, like I wanted to start like taking lyric snippets from it, and I ended up just like basically taking the whole song because the storytelling and like the indictment of capitalism in art, and the way this track ends, like the ending bit of this verse is like easily maybe the best rap verse I've heard this whole year. And I really like the beat too. The sax performance is so good. um it's just so cool like to see him tackling like the way artists are expected to like cater to conservative moralism and brands just to like survive in this world.
Hmm.
It's a lot as a song. I will read just one bit where he says, it's like a conversation between an artist and his patron, and the patron says, "Do you act off intuition or languish and peruse?" And the artist says, more like tap into tradition from the angle of my mood. He looked back at his canvas while strangling a tube, a master of the palette, all sanguine and cool. Which the imagery is just so good.
Yeah.
Um, and then that's not even getting into the political messaging on the song, which I don't think I can even do justice to because it's so good. Deceiving in the brushstrokes, how aggressively I strafe, less like putting on some makeup, more like severing a face. um it's crazy. It's just such a good song, and I don't even want to spoil the way that the story of the song ends because it's awesome. But yeah, I really was really impressed by that song. So yeah, I loved, to sum up, I was really impressed by Kiosk, Ms. Mural, and On Phonem, and the rest of the album I thought was really held back by those bad beats.
Yeah. I was kind of middling all the way through, bordering on negative. I don't really think that I enjoyed this at all,
That's cool. That's cool.
which kind of sucked, but you know. C'est la vie.
C'est la vie.
Next up is Tim Bernardes with,
Mil coisas invisíveis. That's the best I can do.
which is translated to A Thousand Invisible Things.
Bebê, com você eu sonho de olho aberto, bebê. Quero amar e sempre ver de perto você.
This one blew my socks off.
Oh man, this is a spellbinding album. That is the word I would use.
Yeah, this is magical. It is so beautiful, and I got the privilege of seeing him live open for Fleet Foxes, which is how I was turned on to the fact that this album existed because I am not turned on to the Portuguese music scene. But I am so happy I didn't miss this one. It is just absolutely beautiful. In awe of how grandiose and intimate and warm this album is.
Yeah,
And it's been a while since I've heard a folk or singer songwriter album that has such a strong bass presence,
yeah,
and it has such a liquid vocal. It is so fluid and like he's able to go between his chest and his head voice so easily. In that way, he reminds me a lot of Jeff Buckley. But yeah,
the
super impressed by this.
the fact that this album is A, self-produced,
Mhm.
B, he played like all the goddamn instruments,
Mhm.
and C, he easily, like without a doubt, has one of the best voices I've heard in indie in like recent memory. I seriously, his voice is unbelievable. He is like
Yeah.
warm, he's gentle, he's emotionally versatile, and he's capable of like so much dynamic range. He has a beautiful voice. This is like one of the most musically gifted people we've talked about on the show so far. Just like in
Yeah.
terms of sheer like skill, he is juggling so many hats on this album and it is unbelievable. There's a point on this record that I like where I'm amazed by a production choice and I was like, wow, that's a crazy choice. Who produced this? And I looked up and it was him. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? He did one more thing for this.
Yeah, it's like anything that's cool about this album, you can basically just chalk it up to Tim being
Yeah.
amazing.
This record is consistently and marvelously intimate. It's not necessarily
Mhm.
personal. Like it is sometimes personal, but there's a lot of clear like storytelling and musing in the lyrics that aren't about Tim himself. Um, but the intimacy of these performances is ridiculous. His singing, like I say all this nice stuff about his voice, and it has this beautiful, like, imperfect live quality to it, even on record.
Yeah.
He leaves in all these little production blemishes, like a chair squeaking or like a guitar fret slide. And the instrumental
Mhm.
palette is consistent enough track to track that you can imagine the same, like, pack of musicians sitting around him in the room he's performing in, because it is a room, not a stage. This
Yes.
is like anything I could ever want out of a folk album. It's
Yeah, definitely.
like groove, it has swing, it's romantic, it's so tragic at points, and it's all in this like
Yeah.
super charming, subtle, so colorful, just never pretentious or like grandiose package. This is a no skipper album, easily one of the best things I've heard this year, like flat out. I can't
Yeah.
praise this enough.
All killer, no filler, just beautiful. And I do want to harp on the fact that this album sounds like it was recorded in a room, not in a studio, not on a stage, just a room. And as silly as it sounds, there are some folk and singer-songwriter albums that lose sight of the like purity and the humanity of leaving things untouched like that. Letting the vocals echo on the walls, letting the imperfections, like you said, that chair squeak on Ultima Vez be, uh, letting the acoustic spread in the space, it just all makes it feel so down to earth. And the beauty of it makes it feel so impactful in conjunction with that. Like, you could be in the same room as him recording this, and you'd have the
Yeah,
exact same experience as listening to it
which
on a
is
record.
so rare that someone can transfer that quality that well.
Yeah, and I wanna, like, talk about his voice a little bit, like, in detail. It goes from just this, like, feathery, really light, beautiful falsetto that he can hold with still a lot
Yeah,
of power, to a deep and strong and I want it the word liquidy is what I come back to, like, little the middle range is so fluid.
can I bust an SAT word out on your ass?
Sure.
Mellifluous.
Ooh, yes, it is
Yeah, that is
mellifluous.
that is that is a that is a that is the word that kept coming to mind because liquid is like such a good, like it's like honey. It's like pouring honey.
Yeah,
It's so
exactly.
good.
It makes the album, like, so approachable, but so, like, awesome in the literary term. Like, it's so beautiful.
You were talking about Ultima Vez, which
Mhm.
that one really puts his vocals front and center because another thing I love about this album is how there's barely a second where he's not saying anything. It
Yeah,
is so I was like reading the lyric sheet for this and he says so many fucking words on this album. It is
yeah.
so lyrically dense. And Ultima Vez in particular is like probably the most like rambling and conversational song. Like the focus is all on his storytelling. The elements of the instrumental like pull out and return subtly, building and come down. And it's so effortlessly heartbreaking and so effortlessly sexy that like
Mhm.
it works so perfectly. I have a hard time with songs that are meant to be sexy. Like
Yeah.
I am very rarely like, wow, like I am feeling that this song is really like sexual in an emotional sense. Like the heat is really on. But it really is like I'm trying to say this and not sound like horny. This song is like it's impassioned in a very like sensual way, and
Mhm.
the effect is like unbelievable.
Yeah. I wanna, like, discuss fases. That is such an immediate standout. The movement of the vocals and the chorus is just so gorgeous, and the piano that swells delicately in the background. But then those strings and the acoustic guitar are so dominant at the
This
front.
the string on
It's
this
like
album are unreal.
yeah, the mixing on them is bonkers. The ending and the strings, like, serenading you Oh, just a big chef's kiss.
That one bar in the ending where his guitar strumming gets really aggressive for just like 1 second at the climax of the song.
Yeah.
I shit you not, this is not a joke. I genuinely felt like my heart rush when he did that. Like,
Mhm.
it's so unexpected, but like climaxes the song so perfectly.
Yeah.
It's so good. On the lyrical front on this one, he says, I destroyed my in Portuguese, he's Brazilian. He says, I destroyed my old self for me. I buried God in the backyard in the garden. I killed my mother, my father, and then forgave myself. We are all alive. I don't know what he's talking about there. The song is like talking about him going through different phases of his life and like
Yeah.
becoming different people, but it's just such stark and bizarre imagery that it really caught me.
Yeah. There are even tracks like Mayu's 26, which
Mhm.
is like it's about him turning 26.
Yeah.
They're more like pure ballads and have less instrumental movement, but they are made worth your time just by Tim's vocals.
The Maze 26 was the one where the bass like really caught my attention. It's so like
Yeah.
watery on that
Mhm.
one. I really like that song.
Yeah. And even one for like the more I think the most poppy cut, the two most poppy cuts that I can think of would be Falta and Ballad of Tim Bernardus.
It's really funny because on Ballad of Tim Bernardus, he on Mystificar,
Mhm.
he has a line where he says he believes in the Beatles. And
Mhm.
then Ballada de Tim Bernardes is so Paul McCartney. Like this, it's
Yeah.
just so like the la 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 bridges, it's all like fucking obla di obla da, like White Album Paul all the way.
It's so
Um
sweet. I love it.
when he breaks into like the chorus line, like on the I'm gonna Ervo Voltar,
Mhm.
the effect is like, oh my god, I'm like, it's like a cloud expanding over my head. His control of the emotional modes of his voice is so good.
Speaking of emotional modes, Olya,
That was maybe my favorite track. It's huge.
it's huge and it's heartbreaking. It is
Yeah,
so plaintive and pining and like all of it, it feels like begging somebody for a second chance. It is
it's
it's
all piano and
heartbreaking.
string. When he goes into his lower register, he lets his voice get some grit, which is like, wow, I didn't know you could do that. Um, yeah, it's really, really good.
Yeah.
Realmente Lindo was my other favorite. The
Mhm.
sense of push and pull on that one. And then this is
Mhm.
the one where I had that moment with the production trick because the reverb effect he uses on the acoustic guitar to make it like grow and then disappear, like to build tension and then just like dramatically take it
Yeah.
away. It's so good. The vocal heights on the pre-chorus of that one, just it is like serotonin shot straight to my brain. Velha Amiga is like fucking John Mayer if John
Yeah.
Mayer was good. The rhythm that he's strumming in, the word that kept coming to me while I was listening to this is timeless. Like you could show this to someone 50 years ago and they'd get the exact same, like you'd get the exact same
Oh,
reaction.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like, this is the kind of album that makes you wanna, like, yell from the rooftops and be like, "You need to hear this." Like, it is such an affirming album.
Mystificar itself, which I was talking about earlier,
Mhm.
he gets to do like a Frank Sinatra Rat Pack thing,
Mhm.
but like out of nowhere, and it builds to like this Latin jazz background. He's pulling in like total like Milton Nascimento, and like bossa nova, like all this like not traditional, but like classic Brazilian music, like getting brought
Yeah.
into the fold on some of these songs, but like applying it to the sounds of like Grizzly Bear and Fleet Foxes and other like modern folk. And he, like Sufjan Stevens, even I would say, like all these like modern folk icons, like he's adding his like his own background and then his his own like immutable presence on top of that.
Yeah.
Um it's so good.
That track has, like, sort of a fairy tale romance to it. It's very well named, and I think that the, like, the swirling strings and the bass and all of it dropping out to have only him at some point makes me think of it in terms of, like, Orpheus and the Glade.
Yeah.
It's so pure, and, the harmonizing with the trumpets, oh,
If you told me that Orpheus sounded like this, I would believe you.
oh, yeah. It feels like I'm being surrounded by, like, butterflies and lifted up to heaven. It's just
Yeah,
beautiful.
his the vocals, you're absolutely right about the vocals syncing up with the trumpets. That was like another jaw drop moment. Just
Mhm.
it's so good. Um the glissando strings on BB is such a tease because it's like 2 minutes long and I could listen to another 5 like
Yeah.
easily. Like you could just keep that groove going. Um, and then the closer is just like we're talking about all these elements like the string and the brass and the drums and everything and the bass, but the closer is just him and a guitar.
It's so
And
sparse.
it's nothing mind-blowing. It's just sweet and simple and kind, reassuring. And then the record ends with the sound of him of like frets sliding and you could hear him put the guitar down.
Hmm.
And it's like, yeah, that's exactly how this should have ended. Like, yeah, you
Yeah,
figured it out.
exactly.
And he ends with the lyrics, "Baby, don't cry, you're already what you wanted to be," which just it's so this record's so good. I can't say enough good things about this.
Yeah, I feel like we could sit here for another hour and just discuss like the minutia of every single track that we liked, because there was so much to pick apart and so much to enjoy, and I really feel like the word affirming and like buoyant is what I want to say about this. It is so, even in those really gravelly cuts where it's more pained and dramatic, there's always the assurance that you're coming out of it a better, like it feels like I'm coming out of these songs a more well-rounded individual. You know what I mean? Like it feels
Yeah,
like growth, the album.
no, I totally agree. And but I would even like say that buoyant and affirming, like that's underselling it. Like
It definitely
I
is.
I know I know everything that you're saying because I've heard the album, but like saying this album is buoyant is it like I can say that and it's not enough. Like
Words really can't describe most of what this sounds like.
I can't it's hard for me to like when I say my heart literally rushed at various points on this album, like that never happens to me and I was just so swept away by this.
Yeah. This knocked me on my ass and then helped me back up and fed me and housed me.
Yeah, it was really good.
Absolutely fantastic. Do not miss this one. Okay, next up is Robocobra Quartet with Living Isn't Easy.
Tried on some way. Burn up in them.
So I feel a need to contextualize this band
Go for it.
because they are fairly small. They are a British band who kind of exist in the post rock, post punk, jazz rock kind of sphere. And I knew of them from their album Music for All Occasions, which is their 2016 record. And that one's much more, I would say, on the post rock side, but I felt like they had so much potential in the kind of aggression that they have in that. Like, the vocalist has always had this big edge to him, and, the lyrics have always been very bare bones, but tell a story, and I was just excited to see what they came out with next, and this, to me, feels like the fulfillment of basically what I wanted out of them. The opener track, "Flew Close," is a very good opener for this type of album. It reminds me a lot of "Day Without End" by Protomartyr off their recent album. It's just a constant build. It's the tone setter that introduces the themes of the album, which in this case is that life is kind of unfair and that you get shot down, whether you're an observer or the one that it happens to. The way that the sax like couples up with the vocals on the back half and then it all diverges to go on its own is so compelling to me. And it also really shows you how large of a band this is. I believe it's eight, no, not eight, it's six people. They have 3 sax players, and, I think that they utilize the sax in a beautiful way off this album.
This song from okay, so first off, because I'm not as huge on this album as you, it really didn't do
Yeah.
it for me. But first off, before I say things about it, I just want to acknowledge, I just want to give credit where credit is due. Robocobra Quartet is the best band name I've fucking ever heard in my entire life.
It's awesome, and it's great because 'cause they're not even a quartet anymore.
And also, their name does not sell anything about what they sound like. It's
No,
great.
it sounds like it should be a ska band, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, this is like a goof band name, and it's not a goof band. Um, Flew Close, I love the sax performance on that song, and
Yeah,
the restraint displayed in the lyrics and guitar playing is awesome. And the vocals are so earnest that they're able to sell like the slow build of this track really, really well. I
yeah.
like this as an opener a lot. It got me pretty excited.
Yeah, and then from there going into wellness, which is it's so deceptively upbeat and feels so tense in how, like, tight the playing is.
Yeah.
It's very Patrick Bateman.
Yeah.
It's this obsessive self-care that is not care at all because it is so neurotic.
Yeah. Yeah, this album kills people a little bit.
Yeah, the closing line of "We're so blessed in Britain," it really says it all. Like,
Yeah.
it's this
It's
first world capability to go crazy with privilege and preen yourself in, like, this narcissistic way.
and that leads you right into wellness, which is so something.
Yeah,
The
I love
song's a
it.
lot. Uh
The interplay between the sax and the drums and the vocals,
the
it's like
absolute
this terse build.
groove on that song is so
Yeah,
good. Like it locks into like this. It's almost funk. Like it is almost a funky song. But then he goes on record and he says, "It's 7 a.m. I awake after having had on average 7 hours and 41 minutes sleep. I have analyzed my sleep over the years and found this is the perfect amount for me. I often go to
yeah.
Hyde Park, take my shoes off, and stare at the sun for 20 minutes." And then he's talking about like his
His
uh
urine
yeah,
pH.
he's like measuring the pH of his pee and he's doing drugs at work because it calms his brain. He has a quartz crystal and a Himalayan salt lamp. It helps to get rid of the harmful energy that's all around us from Wi-Fi and electricity. Goodness knows what it could be doing to my body.
Yeah, he's talking about how happy he is that there is activated charcoal that he can take shots of at his local grocery store now.
Yeah, he's really taking the piss.
Yeah,
It's great. This is probably my second favorite song.
yeah,
It's so funny because the walking drum line and like the bass line, even in the sound of it, there's this really bizarre banality that just makes him seem like a guy.
yeah,
Like he's an insane guy, but he's just a guy.
yeah. It feels like he has it feels like painfully upright posture and like a bright white room to me. Like, this seems like the kinda guy that you would walk into his house and it would be, like, modern and just completely, like, insane asylum chic.
Yeah,
I love this song for how tight it is, and I think that you don't really get something that's tight like that until the back half of the album.
yeah.
From Wellness, we go into Labyrinth, which is about the rat race, that kinda constant droll of doing the same thing and looking at the bright side, like healthcare and benefits and social mobility.
I did not like this song.
All of which should be givens, but aren't because of capitalism, so it's kind of a commentary on that. I think that the instrumental drags a little, if I'm being honest,
It's
but
very labyrinthine, like it certainly is what the title is saying and what it's talking about.
it is in favor of the theme and how bleak the prospects are, like, in the song, it definitely suits that, but I don't know, this is kind of a case of me not really being sure if the theme can really save.
Yeah, it doesn't justify it. It's
Yeah.
like being lost in a really boring corn maze. It's like a corn maze, but the only thing in the corn maze is facts about corn.
It feels like a concrete maze, which I mean, I guess it definitely the vibe suits what it's trying to do, but I just don't think I'll go back to it. I do, however, really like the track Heaven. I think that the kind of character portrait of this self-absorbed millionaire who's like religious out of convenience and he like bets it all on stocks and loses it. One line that I really really enjoy on this is about taking 9 months to create an image of himself with having a child. It really reminds me of a couple of things. It reminds me of Fight Club when the narrator and in the book Fight Club, when the narrator talks about how his father went around the country creating franchises with different women,
Yeah,
it's like it's looking at children as an investment. And that also reminds me of I will once again mention Proto Martyr, different album though, the track My Children, just about how birthing a child into this world now is uh, it's a diminishing investment because the world is kind of going bad. So I liked that.
I Heaven was the other one that landed in my least favorites, unfortunately.
Womp womp.
Womp womp. I so my main issue with this record was that I didn't feel like it had a ton of identity for itself because this is a pretty saturated market at the moment, like this brand of like jazz inflected post-punk, especially out of Britain. Like there's a lot of bands in this vein coming out of it right now, and I kept like hearing traces of other one, but especially Squid. I got a lot of Squid off this album,
Mm.
and With Heaven, I thought it started okay, but as it went on, it just got more and more squid to me. And by the end, it was just like, okay, well, I can just go listen to Deep Green Field if I want to hear somebody do this.
Yeah, I am also a huge squid enjoyer.
Yeah,
They're I'm a big fan of theirs, and I see the comparison, but I disagree with that it's like inhibiting this album. Because for me, I go to Squid for more of the krautrock. I go to them
yeah,
for the crazy noise elements like on Boy Racers.
yeah,
I go to them for the more unhinged vocal delivery
yeah.
versus here it's much more buttoned up and it feels like white collar. This is white collar post punk to me.
This is like the yard act version of Squid to me. Um, Heaven, I definitely got Squid from the vocals. Like that was really the primary part because I think the way he was like droning on the end of it, like I really was getting the argument, enigma,
Yeah, I
enigma.
guess. Yeah, I see that.
Uh, that was my impression of Kermit the Frog doing an impression of the guy
Of
from
Squid
Squid.
Man.
Yeah. Um, Splatoon joke here.
Hmm.
But the one track on this besides Wellness that really landed for me was Chromosud.
Oh,
That the sax performance on this song, what the fuck?
remarkable.
Where did this come from? I would love to hear them go more at this sound because this like really going hard on the sax and really going hard on like take the song, stretch it out to 9 minutes, and just blister it the whole time. Like
Yeah,
the rush of pure catharsis on that outro, like blew my brains out. Like
yeah.
the 9 minute, it's 9 minutes long, and it passes in a second because
Hmm.
I'm just like so into it.
Yeah.
Um, I if I'm going to like become a fan of this band, I think they need to push more on what makes Chromosud and Wellness so good, and on like the groove aspect and the drive aspect and the jazz aspect because I think they have a lot of interesting things to say and lyrically I just think the sound is like not there yet for like I don't have enough of a push to listen to them over a Squid or a Black Country New Road or a
Yeah.
Shame just yet.
I personally adore this track too. This is such a triumph to me. The sax is remarkable. The solo and the use of it in the verses is just incredible. And it being paired in that solo with the synth underneath the keys and the driving drums creates like such a frenzied, poignant energy. And the lyricism on it. One thing that I love about this album is the lyrics. They are so they're so sparing. The repetition in this one of just shit house, shit flat, got keys, got out it's very effective to me. And from there you start adding on. It feels like somebody trying to justify to themselves being unhappy when they are doing better than somebody else might. Like the line where he's like, some people don't even have enough to eat. Um, yeah, it just is it's so bare, but it creates a very full story to me. I am in love with the lyricism on this track
It
especially.
is the lyricism is for certain the absolute strongest and most consistent part of this.
Mhm.
But I mean, you know me, I'm definitely a sound over lyrics person 95% of the time.
Yeah, the lyrics are for me the lyrics and also the fact that this is mostly completely sax focused and not going into any other weird like other instruments like on Squid being very crowdy and
Yeah.
like electronic focused. I do think that having light synth work like on Chromosod would have been better across the rest of the album.
I did also like the
Um,
synth on Plant Succulent Blues.
yeah,
Like those blasts of dark synth on that one. They
yeah,
made it like
definitely.
weightier and more consequential than I felt a lot of the rest of the album was.
Yeah, I like Plant. The lyrics on Plant are cool as well. Just someone about feeling trapped by a plant that they bought, presumably with somebody else who now they're trying to avoid, and seeing the plant in their house and then seeing the person outside. It feels like they are unable to escape them.
Get owned,
And just like
shithead.
yeah, lyrics about like the opening lines about buying a plant and then feeling like you're going to be hung by the boughs of it when it grows
Yeah.
are just it's so heavy. I love it.
I also do want to, before we get to the next thing, just quick shout out to Micro Person because it made me laugh. It's very goofy and strange.
That was probably my least favorite on the album, but
I, I,
it is strange.
I didn't love it, but I just thought the way the hook was just like, there he is.
Yeah.
There she is. Just
The
made me
little
laugh.
guy.
Yeah. That little guy.
Kill More Clothes.
A little man.
A little man. Kill More Clothes is cool as well. I think that I'm a big fan of the character portraits on this album. Once again, white collar. It's just about some insufferable dude who's going on business trips and complaining about not being in good enough hotels.
Yeah. I like imagining that that's the same guy as well.
Yeah,
That,
yeah,
like, it's like
exactly.
these two sides of him where he's like this white collar businessman and also like snorting crystals.
Yeah, exactly. But then the track Night is the only really like optimistic point on this album. The lyrics are a lot more like inwardly contemplative, talking about like a dog being put down for biting when that's what it's bred to do.
Yeah.
It's optimistic in like the only way that this album allows it to be, which is to
Mhm.
say that human nature is what it is, but the future is what centers us. Possibility is what leaves life bearable. And I think that that's a really good choice for a closer because it kind of
Yeah.
recontextualizes the rest of the album and the characters on it.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I'm a big enjoyer of this album. There are a couple of moments that I think are less strong, but overall, I think that it's worth a listen if you're into this style of music.
You probably will get more out of it than me if you are more along the Megan style of
Yeah,
likers of post punk.
post punk, post rock. I'm your girl. Okay, next up we have Viagra Boys with Cave World.
And the punishments they'll face, but things they would play out much different. Back in the time when we were apes.
Good lord, speaking of character portraits,
Yeah, this is probably one of the funniest albums that I've heard in a very long time.
this goes stupid.
It's hilarious.
I'm not in love with it. It still has like some of the things that have held me back from really loving Viagra Boys music in the past,
Yeah,
but this album is apeshit, for lack of a better word.
which is funny because monkey mode, you know?
Yeah, you're really going monkey mode on this one.
Yeah,
Baby Criminal, the opener track, you compared to Era Vulgaris, Queens of the Stone Age, and
yeah,
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 I wasn't really prepared for like how accurate that comparison was going to be.
yep,
It's a really good song, and it doesn't sound like anything they've done before. It totally, like, even the way that he's like yelling the hook sounds a little bit Josh Homme. Like it's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. The Quatsa undercurrent on this is definitely strong to me.
I didn't hear it
Uh,
the whole way through. I think it kind of lost that midway through for
I
me,
will
at least.
say it didn't lose it because I think it shifted albums. I could hear Era Vulgaris in some areas, and I could hear like the really driving moments on like Clockwork, like My God is the Sun in some areas, and I could hear like some parts of Rated R. But I don't mind that at all. I love Quasa, so it's not a problem for me. I think that an easy comparison here, like as far as peers, is that there's a good degree of commentary being made here, but it's set in a very fun way through character portraits, and it doesn't feel overbearing
Yeah,
versus an album like, say, Wide Awake by Parquet Courts, which is punk adjacent album that's heavily based this time in social commentary. But this one requires a lot less like Googling, and it's grounded much more in like the
yeah.
layman's experience with the internet and less in theory and politics and activism.
You read these, like, that's the thing, is that it's not really an activist album. It's an
No.
album that's like, I've met this guy and I'm pissed off about it.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Troglodyte,
It's
I
so funny. I
I
love that album.
loved
That
Troglodyte.
song.
I loved Troglodyte as a single. I was so into it. The lyrics are really funny. Um, the way he sells, like the charisma with which he sells them is like so good.
Yeah.
The synth presence on the song is really good. Like I really like it for the song, but also it's just like beep 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 beep
Yeah.
beep. You can't see me, but I'm like doing a funny little dance right now, and like even the synth is funny. Like
Yeah.
it's really good. And then I spun it on my, oh Jesus, I sound like a prick. I played it on my radio show the day the day of the Uvalde school shooting, and I was like listening to I was like vibing, and then I was listening to the lyrics as I was playing this, and I was like, oh my god, they're like,
This is relevant.
it is like really relevant. It is brutal. It is like not holding back anything in its portrayal of this character.
Yeah.
And like after something like that happening, it's like difficult to listen to because like, yes, it is ridiculous. Yes, it is like completely out there.
It is so topical.
It's also right. Like it's also right, and it's also like true, like unexaggeratedly true. Like this guy exists.
The biggest example of that and the most absurd example of that is Creepy Crawlers.
That song is I liked it in the context of the album, but I think it's a little formless for me to listen to casually, but I think it does a lot to add to the manic energy.
Yeah, and that one is interesting too because it was inspired directly by a Channel 5 News YouTube video, which is the guy from All Gas No Brakes.
Oh my god.
Yeah, which is him going to a QAnon rally, and this is like directly inspired by somebody's rant in there. It totally makes sense, and it also is sort of like it's in order to make an album like this that so directly shit talks specific character portraits, you have to understand them inside out. And it becomes sort of a self-own that Mr. Viagra evidently has like terminal internet brain rot too. So it is kind of funny, and it is a very specific brand of internet consumer who would make this album.
The way that Creepy Crawlers keeps like lyrically one-upping itself
Yeah.
is so funny. Like there's little kids growing up with animal hair. Some of them are growing up with tails. Maybe even two tails.
Yeah.
They're putting little they're putting little microchips in the vaccines. They're putting little creepy crawlers in the microchips. Like it just
It's
keeps
really
like
good.
upping the ante.
Yeah, until at the end we're going into adrenochrome and like the liberals
They're-
making babies.
They're harvesting the kids they're tracking the kids who've been vaccinated, but they're the kids who are unvaccinated. Like it's so like this is how these people talk. It's so good.
Mm-hmm. I liked Ain't No Thief as a single.
Yeah, that one's really good.
And once again, I love it even more in the track listing. The lyrics are hilarious, and the instrumental style is really nice where like the bass drops out and it gets really terse and high and sharp to accent the line, I ain't no thief.
This is a primo
because it is a lie.
This is a primo chuckle fuck ramble. It's
yeah.
so funny. Like he clearly stole this lighter, and he's like just denying for the
Yeah.
entire song that he did.
And the one where he steals the grandma's jacket. It's like it gives off the completely undeserved swagger of like a pathological liar. It's just perfect.
It's so funny to put this more like mundane and ridiculous, annoying guy in the middle of all these like fascists and conspiracy theorists. Like this is a much more like the annoying guy at your work thing.
Yeah.
But like it somehow fit. Like I can believe any of these people are the same person. Like this,
Yeah,
they
exactly.
also would do this.
I would say that the next one that I like that really, really, really grabbed me is the closer.
Yes.
Return to
Yep.
Monkey. Return to Monkey is an amazing closer, I gotta say.
A song called Return to Monkey with because it is I do feel the need to emphasize that it is not called Return to Monkey.
It is Monke.
It is Return to Monkey.
Yeah.
If the song is called that, it's 6.5 minutes long, and it is your closer. This better be the most apeshit thing on the album, and
it
yeah,
is.
they certainly delivered that.
It's a really like effective thesis for all the themes throughout the album, and the chorus is so infectious, and the instrumental has like a perfect balance between heaviness and danceability.
This is like the moment on the Bob Vylan album where like the guitar syncs up with the vocals on the closer, and it's like, oh my god, I need to be in a pit beating the shit out of people right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And this song is like this song fills me with a deep need to be in a pit screaming, leave society, be a monkey, just like over and over again.
Yeah. The switch down into the sax is really nice and clean, but then the lyric "a murder happens in Japan" and like cleaning it up is too prescient.
Yeah!
I listened to this the day of President Abe's
Shinzo
murder.
Abe was assassinated like the week after this dropped, and then the lyrics are about like a murder happens in Japan. It's like
It's too much. Did Viagra boys assassinate
very, very strange.
Prime Minister? The ending bit about monkeys killing each other too reminds me a little bit of the opening to 2001: A Space Odyssey, where the monkeys, like, learn to murder for the first time, and I thought that was kind of cool.
Can I read his statement on Return to Monkey? I
Yes.
saw a meme that was just a picture of a monkey, and it said "Return to Monkey" spelled like that. I love meme culture, and
Mhm.
especially that meme. So simple and so strong. I imagined us playing live, and I pictured people in the crowd completely losing it and turning into monkeys, flying all over the place, throwing shit, taking off their clothes. It was inspired by Rage Against the Machine as well. I wanted to create a song that people could sing along to, like chanting in a cult. The phrase "leave society, be a monkey" is just taking the piss out of the people who think the world is a big conspiracy against them. Maybe they should just leave. I will say this song did run a bit tiring for me because they did the fucking vaccine computer line for like the fourth time on the album. Like, okay, I get it. Like, get a new way to say
Yeah.
this. But like the song is so apeshit that I end up not caring.
Yeah. I think that there were a couple moments that I thought that where it was just, like, kind of I was like, "What?" The big one for me was the song ADD. The lyrics
Yeah.
were not as clever as they could have been, and it went for a really easy chorus, which is just repeating
I,
attention deficit
we
disorder.
both are ADHD. I mean, I am diagnosed.
Yeah,
You are on your way there.
almost certainly.
And like it stings a little worse than it ordinarily would because like I kind of like the feelings that he's saying I can relate to where he's like can't find my keys, can't find my headphones, can't find a reason for me to keep on. Uh I see you talking but I cannot hear a thing. And then his his commentary on this song, he says like I'll leave the house without my keys or put something down and forget it, or someone sends me an important email, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to answer this, and then I never do. It's about this inability to do menial tasks. I just can't motivate myself to do the easiest thing in the world, which like yeah, that's a really frustrating feeling that I've felt for my entire life. But then
Mhm.
yeah, like it has the least interesting progression on the album. It has this irritating chorus, and like he has the line where he's like, "I cannot function without my amphetamine," which like, shut up, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up right now.
Yeah,
Um, like I like as someone who takes like Adderall, which is I mean, shut the fuck up, like stop,
yeah.
like just stop. It's an irritating song. I also wasn't huge on Punk Rock Loser, which I had honestly forgotten existed as a single. Because the vocal on this one has the kind of like sluggish and like emotionally detached style that is like the exact thing that stopped me from really loving Viagra Boys before this. Like I'm okay with some of the things going on around it, but when he's just like existing in this space and trying to deliver normal lyrics, I'm not into it. My favorite Viagra Boys song before this album was their song "Sports" from Streetworms, which is the stupidest fucking song in the world. If I can quote some of the incredible lyrics, he goes, "Ready? Are you ready? Basketball, volleyball, wiener dog, sports." That's my impression of that song.
That's
And
good.
he's doing the voice that he does on Punk Rock Loser, which makes it even funnier. But like if you're just delivering normal lyrics in that vocal style, which he is for most of the time on other albums, I just don't like I can't. I does nothing for me.
Yeah. I didn't mind this one. It reminded me of Turning on the Screw off Vera
Uh-huh.
Vulgaris with the criticism that it has for like this kind of poser
Yeah.
guy. Also with the delivery and the instrumental style, with it sort of being a little more like
Yeah.
lumbering. This criticism of like substance dependence being conflated with punk rock is not new. Like, think
He
the entire straight edge movement.
he is talking about himself on that because he did have a speed addiction at one point. So
Yeah,
his it is autobiographical to a point. Um
yeah.
but I do agree with you to a point there as well.
I like the kind of additional angle of him being like, "Oh, I'm not like other guys, though." It kinda reminded me of the joke, "I'm not like other boys," like, insert awful trait
Yeah.
here, like, "I'm not like other boys, I murder people who make me angry," like, shit like that.
Do you want to talk about Big Boy?
Yeah, Big Boy, I thought that it was, I was a little nervous
It
for it at
is
first because I thought that it was a little bit dragging at the front, and then at the end, like, the drum machine kicks in and the shitty little falsetto backing vocals came in, and it really made it for me.
I found this song so baffling. I don't hate it, but I feel like it's missing like one killer element to bring the whole thing together, and I couldn't tell you what that is. But like
Yeah.
he's just like wailing for the first half of it,
Yeah.
and then a trap beat comes in, and then this is our second for the podcast incredibly baffling appearance from the frontman of Sleaford Mods. He showed
True,
he showed up on
actually.
the closer of Alex Cameron's mediocre album earlier
Yes,
this year.
yeah.
I don't know why this is a thing now, but I kind of wish he had showed up earlier in the track or took vocal duties for the whole thing, because that like groove change at the very end with the keys is a huge tease for me. I would have loved if like they were doing
Yeah.
that for more of the song. But as it is for me, I'm just very confused by this. So I'm not like anti it, but like I don't know what the hell is going on.
Yeah, that's basically all there
Yeah,
is for me to say about this
this is a
song.
fun punk album with some really insane politics and some really insane character portraits. It
Yeah.
is there's a lot of personality here. That's the biggest selling point of it.
Yeah. I was honestly a little bit shocked that not to say I put any real stock in Fantano's reviews, but to see that he gave this a strong 9 is actually a little bit nuts to
Yeah,
me.
that's crazy. I honestly like I liked this well enough, and I don't think it's a strong 9. I
No.
guess it just like spoke to him, and I respect that.
Yeah.
Maybe he wants to return to Monkey.
Uh,
Maybe
maybe.
Fantano and his big fucking thighs should head out to the wilderness and embrace Monkey.
I do whenever this is like why I don't watch much of him because I sometimes he rates my favorite albums and I disagree and then he rates another album that I think is just okay as like a strong 9 and it makes me want to kill him a little bit, but
See, it's funny because I feel the same way. But I mean, I guess he's entitled to his opinion, whatever.
yeah, it's just honestly it's just the numerical rankings that make it so much more
I
intense, which is why I don't rank things numerically.
I just think he's crazy for giving that
Oh, spelling?
spellings the turning wheel. I thought that one
Yeah.
was just like too much. Too much going on.
Next up is going to be More Mother with Jazz Codes.
And it wasn't the drugs, it was never the drugs. What they can do to you is stronger than any drug. It's the weight of the southern breeze.
You start.
This is our final album for today, yes?
It is, yes.
I loved this. This was really, really good.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome.
And I think it's a really good entry point for me personally, because I came into this looking to enjoy it from a rap perspective, right? Like I've been a More Mother fan for a bit, but my primary, like my big two records with her have been Black Encyclopedia of the Air, which is her solo album prior to this,
Mhm.
which is much more of like a it's like shadowy and smoky and mysterious, but it is very record. And then Brass, which is her collaboration with her full-length collab album with Billy Woods, which if you haven't heard that, you should check that one out because that is an incredible album, one of the best of the year. And it snuck in like December 23rd. They released something. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, list is just fucked now.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are my big two with her, and they are both like rap focused albums, and 700 Bliss was to a degree as well.
Mhm.
And so I was looking to enjoy this album from a rap perspective, and then I went in that door and I left from the jazz door
Yeah.
with like a weird, I felt like a weird smile on my face, like, oh, that's not what I expected to get out of this.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, I
This,
think I think this might be a bit of a jazz keystone for me, and I think that's pretty neat. Like this might
that is
like
yeah.
really get it.
The mixture on some tracks of, like, industrial percussion with, like, really strong jazz instrumental is a really unique approach.
Yeah,
Yeah, coming off of 700 Bliss, this album is so much calmer than I
yeah.
expected. I stopped taking notes at some point because I was just being lulled by it. It was really nice. I had listened to this directly after the Jur album, and I felt like I was being,
A
like,
balm for the
healed.
soul.
Yeah, it was literally healing.
Just
The
like
jazz in it
take
is,
the
like
radical politics in like the opposite, like the exact opposite direction.
yeah, exactly. The jazz in this is, like, almost ambient with how it's mixed and arranged. It's so smooth while remaining still experimental and very, like, abstract. Like, it's, like, deconstructed down tempo. Like, it's very cool.
Her lyrics on this record, sometimes they're like more motifs for texture than they are really deep. But when she
Yeah.
does decide to like deep dive into a topic, it's always spectacular, like every time, like literally like
Mhm.
track after track. either the texture of what she's saying is fantastic, or the substance of what she's saying is fantastic. Like she can do
Mhm.
both modes so well. Um,
Yeah.
in the spirit of this album as like a celebration and an embrace and like almost like a futurization of jazz, the
Mhm.
collaborative aspect of this record is so good. Like
Mhm.
it is a More Mother branded solo project, but she cedes a lot of time, like guest instrumentalists and guest vocalists. And I think the
Yeah.
album is like all the stronger and more atmospheric and more like it feels like a little community of people came together to make this.
Yeah, this album is an artist co-op.
Yeah, no, totally. Like without like even joking, she does a lot of things like that. Like she has
Yeah.
like she manages a space in North Philly that has like that vibe. Like that's exactly like it's an artistic collective and co-op that
Yeah.
like that's what she does. Like
And the
it's
politics on the album, it checks out, like,
yeah.
she's all about that, and it really, I wanna mention the closer as a contextualizer for what this album is saying about jazz.
I loved the combo of noise jism into that outro because like
Yeah,
it like dissolves and completely breaks down the sound of the album, just totally like fucks it with noise. The only time they do that on the whole record, and then rein it back in for this outro.
yeah, where the outro is basically, someone I'm not sure who this person is, but I'm sure he's significant. Somebody discussing the origins of jazz and how jazz has been colonized by the capitalist and sort of like because jazz is a more difficult sound to colonize because it is so free and so unexpected in a lot of ways that it's been allowed to he says resurrect like Lazarus, and when it does we celebrate it, but we've lost sight of the fact that jazz as a word used to mean sex, and it was a form of like musical coitus,
Yeah,
and it's supposed to be something beautiful, like a coupling of people to create something gorgeous, and that really 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 checks out with what we're saying about the co-op aspect of this.
his equating of jazz with like sex and fertility and like
Yeah,
fecundity in particular, like the act of creating life is like the act of improvisation as imperative to being alive. Like
yeah,
it's really
exactly.
really neat stuff. I'm not sure what this is sampled from. I could not. I don't know who Thomas Stanley is. I was trying to find that out because everyone else on this record is Googleable, but
Yeah,
I couldn't find who this person was, and I'm really curious because this is like real poetry. I liked it a lot.
definitely.
Yeah, so there's so many highlights on this album because it's not that long an album. It's like 40 minutes. It has
Mhm,
like almost 20 tracks because so many of the songs are like almost sketches, but they still feel so complete.
mhm,
Like I loved the opener Umzansi when she settles like Moormother and Mary Lattimore is not a match I would have ever expected, but her like ramblings over the harp work in the background is like an
mhm.
amazing contrast. And when she settles in, the harp settles into like this repeating pattern, and then she settles into this like locked in groove where she says quantum black in the moment, like over and over again. It's
Yeah,
like that shouldn't be something that's beautiful, but it is. It's
it
so,
really is.
so gorgeous.
It reminds me a lot of the one Beyoncé music video where it's I think it's the Carters, it's both of them, where they bring in,
Is that where they're in
an
the
all
Louvre?
black yes, an all
Yeah,
black crew of dancers into the Louvre to sort of, like, reclaim this as
yeah.
something where they're allowed to be there, and they are the art. They're in front of it, and they're taking over it, and it really this reminds me of that in the presentation.
Lyrically, she's directly equating just like North Philly existing as it is as a poor, primarily black area
Mhm.
with aerospace futurism. Like these are the same
Yeah,
thing. There is no difference between them.
yeah.
I also love like she plays with past and future on this album a lot, but I also love that the title of the song Umzansi is a reference to it's a form of Zulu war dance.
Mm,
If you know what the haka is, like it's kind of like the vibes are kind of like that, but it's very I was watching videos of it. It's very acrobatic. Like there's a couple guys who will like come out in front and do like insane flips and like mock fight as they dance, and everyone
oh,
else
wow.
is like creating the rhythm. And the sound of this track is pulling, like the drum machines on Umzansi is pulling directly from Chicago footwork music, which is like this really spare and futuristic and like abstract form of dance music that like equating those two like explodes my mind. That's such a fucking dope comparison.
Yeah.
Um
This album, on the note of the sort of like coitus comparison, uh the fact that the instrumental palettes, they are so unique track to track, but also the movement of them flows together so nicely from track to track to where it's not jarring. It feels like changing positions to me. Like,
yeah,
it's
that
so perfect, and it flows, and it feels intimate and beautiful, and I'm so enthralled by that comparison.
that's a really good comparison, and I hadn't thought of that. I love the combo of Dust Together into Rap Jasm.
Mhm.
Um I love More Mother whenever she's back in her like rap mode. Her voice is incredible. And then Akai Solo, who is this rapper that I know a couple things from him, but I haven't really like I haven't gone into his discog much. I think he may have been on, oh yeah, he's on Shrines by Arm& Hammer.
Oh,
He
okay.
appears on the song Parables, which is really good. Um, and she passes the mic to him in a like in the way the song was going, it doesn't sound like there's about to be a feature on it. And
Mhm.
then he just picks up and he delivers this breathless verse for the entire rest of the track. It's really long and it's a crazy verse. He covers ground because he references both Sun Wukong and Total Drama Island. Like he's just
Mhm.
like coming from all angles at this. And it
I
really
liked
like,
his verse a lot.
yeah, and the transition from Dust Together to Rap Jasm is very, very smooth. Like one comes right out of the other. And like I know that the changing positions, like you're talking about like the individual tracks, like when there's a break, it picks back up in a very smooth manner. But it almost feels like, and again, trying not to be horny here, it's like you've locked into a groove, you know, like you've found something that works and then like pushing it to the max, like as far as it'll go.
Yeah.
This is not the white people horny about the More Mother album hour. Do not get it twisted. This album
No,
rules.
this album does rule. I'm into this. I basically have said all I have to say about this. It's just very experimental and experiential in a lot of ways, so I recommend that you give it a try and let it wash over you.
Shout out to Arms Save. That is my favorite track, and that one is the verse on that one that she repeats twice is super, super good.
Okay, and now on to our singles, which we are gonna have to speed run. We're
Blister,
running out of
Blister
time.
Run, let's do it.
Let's do it. First single slash EP is City Hag with Nothing New Under the Sun EP.
This is our best friend Gutter Punk. Woo!
Woo! Love Gutter Punk. This I thought was really neat. I liked, in the same way that I loved the drum presence on Punk Everlasting, I liked the guitar presence on here. It's very mobile. It goes a lot of places. Overall, I like this. I thought that it just kind of was a good thing to sit with. It's only 10 minutes too. It's pretty brief.
Yeah, if you want to check this one out, go for it. It's just 10 minutes. I got a little lo-fi hip hop beats to relax and study to on a couple tracks, but it kind of like hits a groove in the center of it where it's really good for like a solid 5 minutes. And I was just like, I really liked it for that bit.
Yeah. Next up is Heffner with Bends of Life, who are some of my besties. Love Heffner.
This is a local band for us. This is an Athens group that is just starting to
Yes.
pop off.
And they're coming out with a new album soon, and I'm very, very excited for it because the single goes hard.
Yeah, I saw them live somewhere, I can't even remember, like a while ago, and I didn't super remember, like I just couldn't remember anything about the set, but this song like kind of I was like, oh whoa, okay. It's very progressive in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I'm into this.
It's pretty good.
Looking forward to reviewing their album. Next up is Gorillaz with Cracker Island featuring Thundercat.
I am the certified Gorillaz enjoyer of this podcast. They are my favorite
Yep.
group ever. Plastic Beach is my favorite album of all time, and I'm very, very sad about not liking this song because it seems to be getting like rapturous reception from everybody else.
Yeah, I'm not rapturous about it by any means. I thought it was entertaining, but it's not something I would really be scrambling to go back to.
Um,
Next up is ooh,
I was just gonna say I like the bass line, but it is very repetitive. Like it really just kind of does the same thing over and over again.
yeah. And I didn't think Thundercat had like a as big of a presence on it as he normally would.
Cool.
Next up is Death Dynamic Shroud with Messy D Day 102. Elon Musk ass name there.
I mean, it's French, so I don't know what that implies about Elon Musk, but I diagnose Elon Musk with French.
I thought this was interesting. This is actually my first exposure to DDS,
Yeah, I don't
which
blame
is
you.
kind of tragic because I know that they have some hits.
Their music is very inaccessible because a lot of it is locked behind like a subscription service paywall that they do. They have like a list, like a record club they call it, and like you get their releases every month if you subscribe. Because it's like
Weird.
12 guys and they all just are making shit constantly. That one album with all the eyes on the cover is on Spotify though, and you should check it out. It's really, really good.
Yeah, that's the one that I need to check out. But I thought this was interesting. It was a little bit more like subdued than I thought it might be, but it
Yeah.
was cool.
Yeah, this is a really good one. I'm very curious if this is a lead up to an album. And if it is, I'll definitely be giving it a shot because these guys breathe more life into vaporwave than I have heard in years.
Yeah. Next up is the Wonder Years with Wyatt's song.
Oh,
I didn't know that people were still making this kind of music.
This blew my tits clean off.
I did not care for this at all.
I'm so sorry. This like
It's just I'm past the time in my life where I'm willing to accept music that sounds like this, I think.
this is pop punk, but I definitely have always felt that Wonder Years take a much more adult approach to music like this than other bands do. And yeah, this blew my tits clean off. That's all I have to say about it. I'm excited for this album.
Next up is going to be Chance the Rapper with the Highs and Lows featuring Joey Badass.
This is pretty good, but I think it's really funny because Chance is in full on like bounce back mode now because like
Yeah.
he's like
The big day was so tragic.
he's like trying to catch himself on his back leg and stand back up because this is so like directly like his sound. Like this is what people go to Chance the Rapper for. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm still good, guys. Don't forget.
Yeah.
I liked it though.
Yeah, I thought it was okay. It didn't strike me as like anything. I really hated Joey Badass's like ad libs on it.
Oh, I was fine with them.
As always, I'm an ad lib hater, so that's just me. But yeah, I don't know how to pronounce this next one.
Subtract.
Subtract with Bodmin Moor.
I genuinely, for some, I don't know why I thought this. I just thought that we would never get more Subtract music ever because his last album was 2014. And I really love it. It's called Wonder Where We Land. It's like funky UK. Can I say post dubstep without sounding like a bitch?
You can.
It's like kind of like Mount Kimby, but a little dubstepier and a little like more dancey.
Yeah.
He gets like freak ass features too, like Little Dragon and Rory and Sampha and Caroline Polachek and Ezra Koenig and ASAP Ferg, just like crazy features to be on these weird ass songs. I will note that Subtract's New York with is my favorite thing Ezra Koenig has ever done and the only thing I'll ever listen to regularly.
This was cool. It was a little different than what I expected going in. I don't know what I expected because I don't even know who this guy is.
Yeah.
But either way, I still found it pretty exciting and I liked listening to it. I'm excited to see what this leads up to.
Yeah, this was cool. I like how many phases it went through, and I love the album cover. Like, I don't know what it is. It's just so cool.
The cover's cute. Next up is Young the Giant with Wake Up.
They're back. They made it.
This is jarring to me because the only experience I have with Young the Giant is like old school radio play of them from their album in like 2010.
Yeah.
And now next thing I see of them is they're making an EP that's a concept album that's like influenced by Hindu music and Hindu imagery. I'm like, what the fuck?
It's not an EP. I was gonna maybe put the EP on for next week, but it's actually they're doing the Haley Williams, Kevin Abstract thing, Orville Peck thing, where they're releasing the album in chunks as EPs.
Okay.
So there will be a finished like product of this at one point. There's going to be 4 EPs, and it is based on the Hindu like cycles of the universe. It is this is a crazy ass concept. And I hope they can stick the landing on this one because this is like a thing that I think only they could do. Like this is like sort of with the conceptualness of Home of the Strange and the pop sense of Mirror Master that I think really only this band could be capable of doing well and sticking the landing on. This song is really good.
I'm into this. I thought it was cool. It was very dynamic, and I thought the instrumental choices were cool with the sort of underlying but not really overwhelming, like I guess like Indian instruments.
Yeah.
It was cool. I was into it.
Yeah, very cool. I love the way he delivers the hook.
hmm Once again with hooks for you.
You were here before in a different body. I can't hit that note. It's too low.
Next up is Jazz Emo with Still Waiting.
What did you think of this?
Emu. Jazz
Jazz
Emu,
Emu.
Still Waiting.
My man, Jazz Emu. Please tell me what you thought of this. I've been dying to know.
It is wacky.
It is so wacky.
It's yeah, I didn't expect anything out of this. But you were on the money when you said that it sounds like Lemon Demon in some ways.
Yeah.
I forgot exactly how what I compared it to. Let me see. Oh, I said it sounds like it reminds me of Elton John and the guy from Everything at the same time.
Yeah, he's pretty wacky vocally. And he is very British, so I'm glad that you just smashed two British men together.
Yeah.
Uh he does like Lemon Demon comedy tunes with like serious like synth funk songwriting rather than like I think the songwriting can kind of fall flat on some Lemon Demon things.
Mhm.
He's insane. He's like genuinely just a fucking insane person. I really just want to shout him out because my girlfriend and I have been obsessed with him for the last few months. He's a goddamn lunatic. This song's really good and it gets stuck in my head so easily.
Mhm. All right, next up is Glaive with Minnesota is a place that exists.
Best song title of the episode.
Yeah.
You're right, buddy. That's true.
I have once again another kind of unhinged comparison.
Okay.
I said the Glaive song sounds a little to me like Simple Plan does synth pop, and I don't know why. And then I said the melody of it makes me think of the Simple Plan Scooby Doo theme.
Do you mean that in a good way or a bad way?
I think a good way.
Yeah, I was definitely pretty into this. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, it was cool. I'm kind of used to Glaive being a little bit more hyper pop and a little less normal pop.
Yeah.
And this one was pretty just pop to me.
I'm glad we've reached a point in the hyperpop like genre expansion that that artists like that made their brand with like pure hyperpop like Glaive can feel like they can do stuff like this. Like I'm just into that because it definitely still has that hyperpop tinge to it.
Yeah.
But like as we get more artists like Underscores and like Gex's new stuff, I just get happier and happier about the way that this genre is evolving.
Yeah, hyperpop is in a very cool space right now. I'm excited to see it developing. All right, next up is Joey Badass with Where I Belong.
Pretty good. I'm fine with it.
It was whatever. I didn't really think anything about it.
I mostly just wanted to put this here to talk about how insane the album cycle for this one has been.
Mm.
Because he announced a release date and then it didn't come out on that date, and he was like, "Sorry, I didn't clear any of the samples." Which why would you not do that before announcing the release date? Like, clear the samples
Yeah.
and then when they're all cleared, set a date. Like that feels like the logical thing for me to do. It's supposed to be like the 10-year follow-up of his album 1999. It's going to be called 2000.
Yeah.
Which I just don't fucking know. It's so bizarre. Song's fine. I'm mildly excited to see what this album is like.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to say about this one that really passed me by completely. Next up is Loyal Carner with Hate.
What'd you think of this?
I also think I was kind of just not in like a rap space because this
Yeah.
one passed me by a little bit as well. Um, the intro of it reminded me of another artist, and I think I'm gonna die if I don't think about who it is right now. Give me 2 seconds.
I'm gonna listen to the intro and see if I can guess.
Gutter punk. It's a gutter punk. It's a gutter punk beat. That's what it sounds like to me.
Mr. Punk, you're
People are stealing from you, buddy.
I really love the beat on this. I think Loyal Carner is generally really good at beat selection. I think if you're in a more rap headspace one of these days, you should give this one another shot because I think it's pretty up your alley as far as these things go.
Yeah, it really did make me laugh that I was like, "Ooh, gutter punk." Yeah,
Oh,
it
my
does sound like it.
my friend Gutter
My
Punk.
my pal. Yeah, no, but this is probably one that I should come back to. I liked his delivery in general, and I did like the beat. So I probably would like it if I gave it another try.
Mr. Punk, if you're listening to us right now, we presuppose no parasocial relationship with you. It's just very funny to say that you're our best friend because you responded to us one time.
He and I chat sometimes.
Oh my god, he is our best friend!
Yeah, it looks like it, huh?
No parasocial in this bitch. We're going full social.
All right, next up is Julian Baker with Guthrie.
I was saying this before before we started recording, but Julian Baker's music is a kind of music that it's hard for me to get into, like slowed down folk rock with like a very melancholy atmosphere. But
Yeah.
she got my attention with Boy Genius and then kept it with her 2021 album that I looked up the title of earlier so I wouldn't forget and then immediately forgot anyway. Little Oblivions.
Yeah.
That album just absolutely kicked my ass as some of like the rawest, most depressing music I've heard in so long. Like really that album is like, oh, do you want somebody to come check on you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this one has some of that too. I was into this, but I understand why people would not be.
Yeah, this one it feels pretty anonymous in the vein of like Angel Olsen kind of that their group. I saw that they were playing a show together. It was a God, who's everybody? It's like that group of just like kind of folky ladies who exist in kind of the same vocal range, honestly.
Yeah.
And also in the same emotional range, and I cannot tell them apart. Um, which is kind of sad, but you know. Yeah, so I wasn't super enthused by this.
I just really like the lyric on the second verse where she says, when I hit the bottom, start pulling up floorboards. Whatever I get, always need just a little bit more. So I'm catching a ride now to get on the first flight. You told me it scares you the way that I was tonight. And like it's such an oblique, like suicidal ideation thing
Mhm.
that it's so stark. Like she's in this vein a lot and it's very, very frightening.
Yeah. Next up is gonna be Young Fathers with Geronimo.
This spoke to me like no Young Fathers song ever has before, and it's making me think that maybe I should go back and check them out again because I didn't like their album, the one with the lipstick.
Oh, Cocoa Sugar?
Yeah, Cocoa Sugar. I didn't like it when that one came out. Just I was recommended it a lot, and I just could not get into it.
That's
Um,
really funny because this is definitely continuing in the vein of Cocoa Sugar. It sounds like a Cocoa Sugar B-side.
well, I guess maybe I owe it another shot. I was definitely
Yeah.
in 2018 even more of a pop head than I am now. Um, so I think that maybe this is like the door opener for me. But I sent you
Yeah.
like the gif of the camera rotating around Homer Simpson as he looks up into the rain.
Yeah.
That's how this makes me feel. Like when he
Yeah.
breaks into the chorus, I was like, holy fuck.
I did enjoy this one quite a bit too. I'm just a big fan of the boys. They're my guys. In general, I prefer their earlier stuff somewhat more. I like how industrial that is, and I think that White Men or Black Men too might be one of the most perfect intersections of pop and industrial that I've ever heard.
Huh.
It's so good, and there's like some cuts like the opener that's just like the some of the most anthemic like rap R&B stuff that I've heard ever.
In
I
like
just love
a
them.
in like a Nine Inch Nails way, or just in the other direction, like running
Other
in the other direction
direction.
entirely. Okay.
I don't even really know how to describe it. It's just beautiful, and they're a really interesting group of guys. It's some white guy from like Scotland, uh, a guy from London, and then a guy from Liberia. And so they have like a really interesting set of flows together. And I find that on their older stuff, they lean a little bit more into the Liberian guy's flow, which is very aggressive
Do they all do
and intense.
vocals?
Yeah, all of them do
Oh, cool.
vocals. And I prefer it when they lean more into him, so I hope that on the next record they put more of him on there. But yeah, they're a really great group. I'm excited to see what they come out with next. Been hurting for new stuff. All right, next up is going to be the 1975 with Part of the Band,
Oh my fucking
which is
god.
home to one of the most insufferable verses I've heard in a while. I have it
Here's
pulled up right here.
here's the thing is that they're always like this. They're just
Yeah.
always like this.
The verse, which is verse 3, so the first two I was kind of okay, and I was like, all right, like this is an interesting instrumental. I'm chilling.
I really like the comparison sound-wise on this to Kishibashi. It really sounds like Kishibashi, and I just like my favorite sound-wise song from them in a while. I was really vibing with this, and
I
then
do see the Kishibashi. He says, "I know some vaccinista tote bag chic baristas
already I'm gonna kill you.
sitting in East on their communista keisters,
Okay, it's getting worse.
writing about their
I
ejaculations.
am flushing you down the great big toilet in the sky as we speak.
I like my men like I like my coffee, full of soy milk and so sweet it won't offend anybody,
The toilet is getting clogged.
while staining the pages of the nation. Oh yeah.
Oh, getting my plunger.
Yeah,
Uncorked. Oh, there he goes. Goodbye, Maddie. Out into the Thames with you. Shut the
good.
fuck up.
Jesus Christ, I heard that while I was cooking and I almost dropped what I was holding.
He's
It
so.
is so bad.
The first verse is also pretty bad. He says she was part of the Air Force. I was part of the band. I always used to bust into her hand.
No.
I was living my best life, living with my parents, way before the paying penance and verbal propellants and my cancellations. Yeah. I
Oh.
fell in love with a boy. It was kinda lame. I was Rimbaud and he was Paul Verlaine. I'm like, I just, how,
Oh.
who are you? Am I ironically woke, the butt of my joke, or am I just some post-coke average skinny bloke calling his ego imagination? He's,
It's just
he's so
with those
gross.
with all those jizz lines, I need a collab between the 1975 and pre Isaac Loss Black Country New Road. They could make the world's
The
greatest cum
world's
song.
worst song about Charlie XCX.
Yeah.
He's just so gross and unrepentantly unpleasant all the time. Like I feel like if I talked to this guy for
Yeah.
more than 5 seconds, I would walk away addicted to nicotine.
Yeah, and also we talked about Vampire Weekend being the world's whitest band last
Yeah,
time, and to me, this feels like the world's
it's
whitest band. It's just four very, very like
well, they're
Seattle
British, so
white guys. Oh, that makes it
um
worse. Just like white guys who don't know when to shut up and think that they're the
and
best at
like it's
everything.
that flavor of like preppy, really white. Like I say this as somebody who is really white and coming from very preppy country. Like that's where I live. I know these guys. This is the guys that I grew up
Yeah,
around. Except they're all terminally online now. That's so much worse.
and they're talking about cum.
Oh, I hate you, Maddie Healy. I hope you go away and never come back. I can't wait to review this album and take a shit on it.
Anti Maddie Healy
Oh my
podcast.
god, buddy.
Soundly. And there was one moment where you texted me and you said, "Megan, the sky is falling. I like the new 1975 song." And then
30
30
seconds
seconds
later.
later, you text me and say, "Never mind, this
I
sucks."
like tuned into what he was saying and I was like, I can't tolerate this. I think it is worth mentioning that Japanese Breakfast and Jack Antonoff have background vocal credits on this. And guys, he's gonna lure you into his sex dungeon basement. Go, just run. Just
Yeah,
run.
go away. Please run.
Oh Lord God.
Yeah, that's the singles.
Uh
Those are our thoughts for this
can I
week.
close this out with the one comment on the 1975's part of the band on the Genius lyrics sheet?
Sure.
It was only a matter of time before Jack Antonoff got his poison hands on them. You heard, you
Other way
heard it
around,
here first,
pal.
guys. The 1975 have finally sold out.
Yeah, oh my
Oh,
god.
good lord.
What a gem of
What
a band.
a shite band. Yeah, we have more artistic integrity than the 1975 in our fingernails.
Yep. And
Anyway,
we that's us for this week.
yeah, we had quite an adventure this week. I hope you're
Yeah,
ready to get scod even more next week.
I'm terrified.
Yep, you're gonna die.
I hope I do before I have to listen to ska. Um yeah, so if you would like to engage a little bit more with us, we have a Twitter.
At Presses Cast.
Yes. We are also on Spotify. We put all of our songs that we discuss on the podcast in a one big playlist so you can listen to them and catch the vibe of
Think
what
for
we're
yourself.
saying. Yeah,
Think for yourself.
exactly.
Free
Liberal.
thinkers. We're a free
Um,
thinking neoliberal podcast.
we are stinky, stinky neoliberals. I looked up the word neoliberal. That's a throwback now.
It is.
Um,
That's
yeah.
retro.
Retro Presses Cast. And if you would like to engage more with either of us, my tags are I'm a Megan.atwell on Instagram. My last FM is Honeyfern with 2 Y's. Yeah.
I am Saint Soap pretty much everywhere. I'm Saint Soap on last.fm. I am Saint_Soap on Twitter. Yeah, that's about all I'm willing to plug there.
Yep.
Don't want to dox myself entirely.
And yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Have a good week. We will catch you next time with the new Black Midi album, which is going to make Megan explode.
Yeah, I might die, actually.
Yeah, she might be dead the next time you see this. So, yeah, sorry about that.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Send my funeral bill to Jordy Greep.
Okay. And I'll send your ashes to Jeff Rosenstock so he can incorporate them into his next ska album
I
somehow.
will rise from the grave and curse you.
It's like the screaming pot and everything, the urn and
Yeah,
everything
yeah,
everywhere all at
exactly.
once.
Oh my god. All right.
Except with backing brass.
Oh,
All right.
worse.
I'm Sophie and we are still hot.
And I'm Megan, and we are still on the presses.
Bye.
Bye bye.